So hello everybody and welcome back to the backstage Go Again Gaming area. Thanks Jim for showing up, thanks Andrew for showing up. Very impromptu stream, but just thought we'd go through all the cards in Outsiders today to varying degrees of sort of depth. But yeah, haven't really had the chance to look at all of these cards in detail really yet due to a bit of an up and down week. But definitely going to be delving into them today. So thanks for everybody who's joined now or in the future. If you are joining this in the future, you will see timestamps in the description box below as to when the stream actually starts. Whereas, you know, at the moment we're backstage essentially. So there will be timestamps when this goes live on demand. Be with you shortly. Typical Go Again Gaming fashion, we were muted. Yeah, I think we're good now. But yeah, thank you very much for pointing that out. We're going to be delving into all of the Outsiders cards today to varying degrees of depth. Obviously, we're going to be going into the Ranger stuff a little bit more than the other stuff. Oops, got a little bit of an echo going on here. Seems like it's been a while since I've done this. seems like it's been a while since I've done this, but yeah, it looks like we're good now. So thanks everybody who's joined now in the future, wherever you might be watching this. Please like this video if you are live watching this now, and say hello in the chat. That'll be fantastic. But we are going to be delving into all the Outsiders cards. Not going to spend too much time on the ones that we're not really going to play with. But then saying that, we could play with anything, because obviously we're going to be going to a pre-release on Monday. Monday the 20th, and haven't really built any decks yet, haven't really experimented with any cards on Talishar or anything yet, because I like to get my hands on the cards before I actually start building with them, essentially. So yeah, it's going to be good fun. Can't wait to delve into it, and there's a lot to sort of unpack here. But thanks for joining us. Again, this is another set review by another content creator. So I appreciate if you've probably watched other other set reviews or other set sort of deep dives. But thanks again for being here today. So yeah, Overused 188. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us today. Andrew, cheers for the beers. Absolutely. I should have got some beers today actually. But with that being said, let's have a look at the first page here using fabrary.net. Because they're a great site for the supporting of content creators as well in general. So first things first, there is an elephant in the room with Plague Hive, which was released today. Well, not released today, but spoiled today, leaked today. And by now, there's a lot of hocus pocus around, you shouldn't really be showing this, you shouldn't really be doing or covering this. But I'm pretty sure the whole Twitterverse and the whole sort of online sphere now knows about what this card does. So unfortunately it has been leaked, but luckily it wasn't like a content creator's card or anything along the lines of that. It's just one of those things that will eventually get leaked anyway, so why not talk about it? Conovar Hawk, welcome to the chat. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be reviewing the whole set today, to varying degrees of depth depending on what we're looking at. Obviously I'm not really going to be able to evaluate the ninja cards that well because I'm not really a ninja player, but we'll read them nonetheless. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts on any of the cards, then by all means leave it in the chat. That would be fantastic. But Plague Hive is the one that's been leaked today. This is the Fabled of the set. It's a Yellow Pitch Assassin Ranger resource. So that's pretty cool. Yellow pitch as well is always good. Yellows are always good in the Ranger deck because you can use your bow and then use the one floating resource to fire the arrow that you've put in most of the time. And it says when you pitch it for each opposing hero, so that's cool. In UPF, you can give each one of those a random Inertia, Frailty, or Blood Rot Pox token. So you create one of those at random under the each opponent's control, essentially. So that's quite cool. In UPF as well, multiplayer formats, you give everyone a random disease. But in a game like 1v1 game, I don't know how sort of detrimental this will be to the opponent's plans. Maybe late game when you're sort of generating either damage off of the Blood Rot Pox that they have to pay for late game, or just making sure that they can't get their 5th card, obviously as a result of the arsenal, could be quite detrimental at the end of the game if you are still pitching this. So I don't know competitively how well this is gonna perform, whether it will become a must run. I think it becomes a bit of an issue for the game if you are running or having Fableds as must runs in the deck. It can be a little bit of an issue, a bit of a sore subject, having to spend a lot of money on these cards. But yeah, let us know what you think. Doing great today. Almost had a final build for the new stuff. Nice one. Yeah, I haven't actually experimented with any of the new cards yet. Waiting for the set to be released before I do so. But yeah, going to have a deep delve into all the cards today and how they could potentially be implemented in decks that I might be using, i.e. Azalea. But yeah, I've seen a lot of chat, obviously, in the Azalea cult and all over the internet as to Azalea getting some serious upgrades in this set. And I've seen a few of the cards. I've had a few sort of looked through already. But not to the extent of which diving deep, which is what I'm going to be doing today. But yeah, Plague Hive, a good place to start because that is where all the elephant in the room is today. And it's nice to see a cracking artwork as well. Absolutely awesome from Mark Paul. But yeah, that's the first card. Then we're going to have a look at the heroes. So we've got Azuri. This is the hero that was spawned by good friend Kel over on Red Zone Rogue. So well done on your video. It was fantastic. So yeah, just standard hero, assassin hero, 40 life, 40 intellect, and a once per turn attack reaction. Banish a card from your hand face down. Turn the card banished this way face up. If it's an attack action card with cost 2 or less, put target attacking card with stealth from the active chain link on the bottom of its owner's deck, and then put the banished card onto the active chain link as the attacking card. So pretty cool. But basically means you can turn any of your stealth cards into another attack from your hand, essentially. I don't know what the lines of play might be of this, because obviously the stealth cards don't have go again. Obviously they have go again if you're playing Arachne Solitary Confinement, but maybe you want to be swinging your daggers and then playing most of the cards, the stealth cards, as we'll see, are 0 cost, so you're basically allowing yourself to play any attack action card with cost 2 or less for free, because you are playing the card with stealth. Then you're using the card from your hand and turning it into that card, essentially. So yeah, it could be quite good. I haven't really well, we're going to see a couple of the cards that Azuri can use with this, but it seems like the archetypes that are in this set are quite sort of similar to Welcome to Wraith as well. This is like the Dory of Outsiders, right? It's like the combat tricks, it's the weird stuff, the weird mind games that are being played with the opponent. Arachne Solitary Confinement, at least in Limited or the Drafts environment, Arachne Solitary Confinement is probably the aggro style deck as well. So we'll get into that in a moment, but yeah, Azuri, amazing hero, looks awesome, and well done to Red Zone Rogue for spoiling it. A monumental moment for him as well for his spoiling a hero for the first time, so fair play. But yeah, we'll get into more of Azuri synergies as we go down the list of cards that she can use. TCG Talk, as my man, hope you're doing well. Hope your day is going well. Thank you very much, TCG Talk. Yeah, all good, mate. Thanks for asking. And this is the first time we're really looking into all the cards in depth. We haven't really had the chance to experiment on Talishar. To be fair, just want to play with the cards when we get them in the flesh and blood properly. So yeah, it's the first time looking into all the cards. So yeah, just discovering it like everybody else is still. So yeah, Azuri. Then we've got obviously the young hero version as well. Obviously, we've got the Mysteria border, so does she hail from Mysteria? There's like a nice sort of Asian-inspired building in the background there, so I don't know if the story is up on Azuri yet. It probably is, actually, to be fair. And then we've got Arachne Solitary Confinement. Obviously, this is the assassin hero as well, which is probably more tailored towards the aggro archetype in Draft and Limited, because obviously the first attack with stealth each turn gains go again, so you can essentially go quite wide with the stealth cards. All the stealth cards also are pretty much all 0 cost. Yeah, you'll be able to go quite wide with Arachne Solitary Confinement, so it's going to be interesting to see if that is the case, if it is more of an aggro build. But I think it is. So if we look down at these cards here, we've got Backstab, a 0 cost stealth card. We've got not Spike, we've got Infect, a 0 cost stealth card, Isolate, a 0 cost stealth card. So all of these, when you're playing with these with Arachne, are going to have go again, essentially, which is going to be quite cool, because they have a lot of various on-hit effects as well. Yeah, basically all of the stealth attacks here are 0 cost, so all of these 0 cost attacks are going to have go again, so you'll be able to swing with your dagger, then swing with a stealth card, and then swing with another thing. But also all of these cards could also be viewed as, especially the red ones, all of them could be viewed as 6 attacks because of the Razor's Edge as well, and all of this stuff is 0 cost. So all of these stealth cards and the reactions on top of them, like Razor's Edge and what have you, are all 0 cost, which means that you want to be utilising that Arachne's ability to give each first attack with stealth each turn go again to really go wide. So it looks like Arachne is going to be the aggro archetype in the Limited and Draft environment. So that's quite cool, and obviously 19 health as a result of that. Why is that? Why do they have lesser health? I don't know, because it's just an aggro deck, isn't it, essentially? Maybe, I don't know. Prowl is also quite good. We'll get into all these in a moment. But yeah, Arachne is looking like the aggro archetype hero in the set. Driving me up the wall of Dory talk. I'm the law. She goes by Thea when her name gets shortened. Absolutely, Andrew. Yeah, that's definitely true. Thea. Her border is the Mysteria border for sure. Oh, it really is, Jim. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely the Mysteria border. So you can see a cherry blossom there as well behind her. Awesome artwork from Sawyer May, as always. But yeah, I think there is a lore on there already for Azuri. But yeah, obviously we've got a reprint of Spider's Bite, which came in Dynasty, the assassin weapon, and then we got a couple of awesome daggers. We've got Nerve Scalpel. So all of these swing for 2, so obviously you have to pay 2 for them. Obviously it's a go again attack as well. Costs 2 to play, attacks for 1 with go again, piercing as well. And then all of these daggers have various on-hit effects as well. So when this one hits, the next time they defend with 1 or more reaction cards, they have -1. That's pretty good, because obviously reaction cards normally have or the good ones at least, normally have the 4 like the Sink Belows and the Fateful Scenes. Bringing those down to 3 is quite nice. And later on as well, you can see that you can chuck these at your opponent, which we'll go into in a bit. But yeah, Nerve Scalpel getting rid of or debuffing defense reactions. Orbitoclast gets rid of or debuffs the non-attack action cards defending, and Scale Peeler debuffs the equipment while defending. So it's nice to see that all of these cards, you know, taking a sort of a leaf out of Spider's Bites book, are going down the debuff route, which I think is quite cool. So debuffs and, you know, de-armoring things is quite cool and prevalent in these weapons. Next is Redback Shroud. So this is like the funny thing is as well, this doesn't really synergize with Azuri. This is like the, you know, the whole silver generation thing, right? So this is really more of a Arachne Huntsman card, because obviously it's all about the silver regeneration. So this is Assassin Equipment, legendary, blocks for 1, has Battle Worn. When it's in your graveyard at the start of your turn, you can destroy 2 silver to recur it, similar to how the Mask of Perdition and the what they call Black Text work. And then obviously as an attack reaction, you can destroy it, and the next attack action card, reaction card, you cost 1 less to play, so that's cool. So Razor Reflexes, all of the other sort of 1-cost attack reaction cards cost 1 less to play. That is pretty much all of the good ones, right? That's pretty much all of the good attack reactions, the 1 costs. So if you're making them free, that is pretty good, I think. So yeah, nice to see that Assassin's still wanting to work in that attack reaction space. But yeah, interesting to see that this card was in this set, and obviously works more with Arachne than Azuri. But yeah, what kind of equipment does Azuri want to use? Does she still want to use this, or does she want to use something else? Does she want to use Tunic? What do we think? Does Azuri want to use this, or does she want to use Tunic? Because obviously this is more silver focused, isn't it? But the answer is probably this, isn't it? Let's be honest. The answer is probably this, because you can do that at any time, right? You can make any attack reaction cost 1 less to play at any time, so that's probably better. But you can't really get the recursion off of it, and it's Battle Worn. I guess that's probably the thing, isn't it? Battle Worn, you can defend with it and still activate the ability later. So that's probably the best thing to use, I imagine. But let us know. What do you think? What equipment are you using for Azuri? Are you using the Redback Shroud, or are you using Tunic, or are you using something else entirely? Next card is Infiltrates. Obviously, this is the one that Carolina spoiled with the awesome cosplay involved as well. So another 0-cost stealth attack. So, you know, going into that theme where Arachne can just run 0-cost stealth attacks, which can do a variety of different things. But yeah, this is a 0-cost majestic, so attacks for 3, blocks for 3 with stealth, obviously, so you can cheat other attacks in with Azuri if you want to do that. And it says, when this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck. You may play it until the end of your next turn. So that's pretty good. So that's pretty nice. You can play any card you want until the end of your next turn. So you can play D-Reacts, you can play Channel Mount Heroics, you can play God knows what. So yeah, pretty cool card. And obviously if they see this coming in at them, they're like, oh wow, okay. So if you're playing Azuri and you attack with an Infiltrate, they're going to be like, okay, this can either be horrible. They can either banish the top card of my deck and play it until the end of the next turn, or they could cheat something else into play. So you're playing some proper mind games with them here with regards to the Infiltrate. And there's a couple other cards like later on, which we'll go into, that you can actually look at the top card of your opponent's deck, and you know, and then you could play this. So let's have a look at that actually very, very quickly, because that's a synergy that I've just remembered after looking at the cards and seeing this cards earlier. So we just go all the way down. There's quite a few cards to go through today, so we might be here for a while. Which one was it? Where is it? Like, scout the periphery. There it is. Look at the top card of target hero's deck. The next attack action card you play from Arsenal this turn gains +3. So you could potentially have a look at the top card of their deck with scout the periphery, and then chuck the Infiltrate at them, and then try and get that card that you've seen. It's a little bit obsolete, really. There's quite a lot of hoops to jump through there, but that's just one interaction I thought of off the top of my head. But yeah, pretty cool card, Infiltrate. Also can be Azuri'd as well. Speaking of Azuri, Shakedown. This is pretty cool. Azuri specialization, of course. Can't wait to play Limited. I think it's going to be excellent. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Yeah, I can't wait either. That's why I'm sort of holding off on building any cards online or on Talishar or anything, just because I want to experience Limited first. And we had a conversation about this in Living Legends podcast recently about when cards should be released online on the online platforms. So it's quite an interesting conversation that's going around at the moment, but we're not going to get too much into that on this stream today. But But I would run that over Tunic, I think. Showtime DCG, yeah. I think it makes sense. It's a battle worn as well, and you can still get the one on the attack reaction when you need it, so it makes sense. But yeah, Azuri, Shakedown. So obviously this is a card that she can cheat into play with her ability. And it says attacks for 6, costs 2, and it blocks for 3. If you've played or activated an attack reaction this chain link, which you probably would have done, because obviously you would have used Azuri's ability to take away the stealth card and then put this into play instead to turn it on. It says when this hits a hero, choose red, yellow, or blue. They reveal their hand, and you banish your card of the chosen colour. So that's pretty nasty. That's getting rid of and banishing cards from hand. It's like a little sort of Thoughtseize for the Magic the Gathering players out there. A way of discarding or getting rid of key cards in their hand with the on-hit effect. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. And one of the ones that you want to be cheating into play with Azuri's ability. Andrew is saying, if you want control over when cards go live on the online client, you need to have an online client. Exactly right, Andrew. Exactly right. Yeah. It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's like Magic Arena. Magic the Gathering Arena only has the cards on there when the sets are released, so people can only play with the cards when the cards are actually out, which I think is, in my opinion, is probably better. But you know, everyone's different. Talishar is not a place to go to sort of test. You know, optimal decks really. Once it becomes a place where you can sort of test optimally, you know, that's when it starts treading on the toes a bit, I think. But yeah, it's a conversation that's going around online at the moment, and expect to hear more of that on the Living Legends podcast on Wednesday. Because I'm not going to go into that now. It's a very, very in-depth topic which we discuss on that podcast. But yeah, my thoughts. I think things should be released when the release date is. But you can't really control these online fan-based platforms. You can't control Tabletop Simulator. You can't control proxies, people proxying cards. And you can't control Talishar and people using the cards on Talishar, unfortunately. It's just one of those things you can't control. And, you know, the sweaty tryhards will always try and, you know, get as many reps in as possible to make sure they aren't getting the optimal lines of play and all that bollocks before they can even play with the cards. But that's my 2 cents for now. Anyway, next card is called Spreading Plagues. This is quite cool because it punishes people for trying to overblock. I think this is a card that Kel really likes on Red Zone Rogue. So yeah, it's a really cool card. So it says attack reaction costs 1, blocks for 3 if you want to block with it. And it says create X Blood Rock Pox tokens under defending hero's control, where X is the number of defending cards. This chain link. So yeah, punishing people for over blocking, and then just damaging them on their next turn for doing so. So yeah, a great card. I think it'll probably be better in Blitz, I imagine. But I could be wrong. But yeah, Spreading Plagues, nice card. I know that Kel likes it and punishes you for overblocking. Then we got 3 Backstabs. So again, this is just a stealth card which can be cheated in. Defense reactions can't be played to the link either, which is quite cool. Nice little bit of evasion on there. But yeah, one of the I don't know whether you'd use the reds and the blues. I'm not sure what sort of composition of cards you would use in a Azuri deck as of yet. Yeah, the red ones are very good. Of 0 cost, go again potentially if you're using Arachne. But yeah, it's just a nice little stealth card there. Defense reactions can't be played. Sneak attack's quite good if you want to use with Azuri's ability. So this says if you've played or activated an attack reaction, this chain link it has +4. So if you've used Azuri's ability, it will come in for 7 damage on a 0 cost attack, potentially with Azuri, which is quite nice. Only blocks for 2, costs 2 if you play it normally, but then it obviously comes in for 7 with this one if you sneak it into play with the attack reaction. Or even if you just play like another attack reaction at all on this chain link. So yeah, it's quite cool. Comes in yellow and blue as well. Then we've got the spike cards. These are nice little attack reactions that give everything +3 on the stealth, things that have stealth at least. So again, the stealth cards on their own come in for nothing, right? They come in for no resources whatsoever. You can then potentially use Razor's Edge and the spikes to really punish those people for not blocking these 0 costs. And a lot of these will have go again as well because of Arachne. So Arachne really having probably why his life is a little bit lower, or their life is a little bit lower, is because obviously they can do a little bit of they can do mainly aggro stuff and also some combat trick stuff. So they can do a bit of both. They can race and they can also push damage over the top in the reaction step, as well as hit them with on-hit effects with the diseases, with the spike cards as well. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Backstab in all 3 colours, and obviously I don't know why I was going on to backstab. I was just giving an example there. Spike with the diseases is what I was talking about. But yeah, +3, all of these +3, plus the blood rot, pox, frailty, or inertia tokens. So yeah, pretty nice. Infect, another 3 of stealth card, which just says if it hits, they get a blood rot, pox token. I think that's yeah. So we got an inertia one. We've got. Do we have? Yeah, we get all of these cards here. We have all of the plague cards as well, all 0 cost stealth cards which have plagues attached to them. You can also have multi-plagues as well. So if you attack with an infect for 0 and then spike it with inertia as well, you can then it can then become a 6 attack, which gives you 2 diseases on hit. So that's pretty nasty. So yeah, that's pretty nasty. So you can actually take away card advantage by taking away the arsenal of the inertia token, and give them extra damage in form of the infect blood rot pox token. So I can see why Arachne probably has lesser life in the limited format at least, and in Blitz at least, because you can do quite a lot of things. You can do the racing thing, and you can apply a lot of pressure through the on-hit effects of the attack reactions. So yeah, pretty nasty. They're also 0 cost that could be in a 6 with on-hit Azuri. Absolutely, yeah. So all of the all of these cards are 0 cost Azuri switcher outers, aren't they? Essentially. So yeah, really nice. And yeah, I really like it. I really like the fact that they all cost nothing to play. So it's mind games straight away. You're using no reason. You're playing a card down for no resources, and then threatening another card which has more value than that, essentially. Especially on the blues as well. You know, that's another sort of mind game that you can play. Is, oh, you're coming in with a blue isolate for 1. That's definitely going to be a fucking, you know, attack reaction Azuri situation, isn't it? Let's be honest. If you're attacking with the blue isolate, the opponent's going to be like, well, okay, there's going to be something else here, isn't there? You know? Supperworm's here. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't think you've been in the stream for a while, mate. How's it going, Pascal? It is a Sunday, to be fair, though, so I guess it's probably easier for some people to be here on a Sunday. I might be wrong, but cheers for showing up, Supperworm. But yeah, Isolate's pretty cool because it has Dominate as well, so that's another piece of evasion that you can use. Malign is quite interesting. Another 0 cost stealth which damage can't be prevented. So you can't Oasis Respite this. You can't do anything about preventing damage from this, which I think is quite cool. And again, it's one of those cards that can be, you know, attack reacted with Azuri, and it can be attack reacted with Razor's Edge and the other spike cards that we've just had a look at as well. Prowl is quite good because it's like a pseudo sort of Ira effect for Arachne. So you play the Prowl, you know, it's a 0 cost go again attack with Arachne. Obviously, it can be switched into play with Azuri as well if you want. And it says the next attack with stealth you play, this combat chain gets +1. So it's like essentially like an Ira sort of style effect with Prowl, where you can give something the next cards with stealth you play this turn gets +1, which is pretty good. So you could essentially, if you play Prowl, any of the Prowls, you could then give the next red card, the next red stealth card you play +1, which then achieves a breakpoint. Like obviously Sedate, obviously all the red stealth cards attack for 3. So then you could then achieve a breakpoint with these Prowls if you play this first. Then you could also spike that or Razor's Edge that, and you're already leaking some damage through, maybe getting some diseases through. So yeah, this Arachne build is looking quite cool, I think, for limited, because you are having a mix of both a lot of pressure with the constant attacks with stealth, but then also having the reactions over the top, as well as potentially attacking with the dagger if you have enough resources as to what you've got there. So yeah, Arachne's looking like quite an aggressive deck in limited and sealed and blitz. So yeah, look out for that. Then obviously we've got Sedate and Wither, which are, again, just more stealth cards in various pitch values, and all the pitch values which will generate a Frailty token or an Inertia token under the opponent's control on hit. Yeah, both pretty standard stuff there. And then obviously Rage's Edge, we know we got those a while back now where they were spoiled, but again, giving any card with stealth a little bit of a buff at instant speed, well, attack reaction speed, for forcing those on hits or the diseases through if you want, and just leaking some damage. But that's pretty cool because all of the stealth cards cost nothing to play. All of the actual attacks with stealth cost nothing to play whatsoever. Even Infiltrate costs nothing. So you can essentially threaten quite a lot of damage for no resources at all, because Razor's Edge costs you nothing, all of the stealth cards cost you nothing, Prowl buffs the next one by 1. The only thing that really costs to do it is Spike, but the only reason why that costs to play is because it gives it +3 and the on hit of disease, which obviously does more stuff. So yeah, really liking how Arachne's turning out, and obviously all these stealth cards are also enablers for Azuri to sneak in big, massive 2-cost value attacks as well, which is going to be a lot of, and stuff that we've already had printed in previous sets, rather than just this set. You know, you can obviously cheat in some loads of cool on hits like CNCs and other things as well. I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, this is a really cool mechanic. Similar to ninjutsu in Magic the Gathering. So if you've played Magic the Gathering, it's very, very similar to ninjutsu, where you attack with something and then you ninjutsu it back to your hand and play something else with that. So it's quite interesting. Pat Shaw, how's it going, mate? Thanks for stopping by. Supworm tested some outsiders today. Katsu is sick. Oh, nice. Good stuff. I'm going to get to Katsu in a moment, but don't really know too much about the hero, to be honest. So I'm not really going to be able to delve too deep on Ninja. But speaking of Ninja is next, actually. So we're going to go into that now. So thanks for mentioning that. So obviously in this set, we had 2 reprinted heroes. We had Katsu the Wanderer and Benji the Piercing Wind. So obviously 2 ninjas that we've already seen. I'm not sure whether the lore on why the ninjas are there. I'm not sure if that's been released or not yet. But yeah, we've got Katsu and Benji returning in this set as well, with some harmonized Kodachis as well. Yeah, starting off, we've got Mask of Many Faces. So it's Ninja Equipment Head, blocks for 1. It's a common. So it's mainly more of a limited draft sort of thing, I imagine. But instant speed, you can pay 1 and destroy it, and then name a card. The next attack action card you play this turn gains that name. So again, not really familiar with Katsu and combo and all that sort of stuff, really. But giving any card any name is good for achieving combos, even if it's just a one-off effect, right? In the sort of limited draft, sealed. Maybe even blitz as well. Giving a combo line, smoothing out a combo line on 1 turn might be the pivotal thing that you need. But yeah, not too familiar with it. But again, a cool little thing for smoothing out combo, and I think that's what they've done from what I've seen so far. They're smoothing out the way combo works with regards to giving stuff names and making the combo lines easier to achieve. And that's obviously just an example of that. Then we've got Cyclone Roundhouse. This is quite cool effect. So it costs 2 to play, pitches for yellow. It blocks for 3, it's a 5 attack. And if Spinning Wheel Kick was the last attack this combat chain, this has, at the beginning of the reaction step, banish a random defending card from each chain link. That's pretty crazy, right? Each chain link. So if you've had multiple chains that have been blocked by different cards, and you play this, if you've played Spinning Wheel Kick before it banishes all of those cards on existing chain links. So they just go away, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I don't really know where you would use this or how this is really that good in a sort of... I don't play Ninja, right? So I'm not really versed as to what this can do. But yeah, it's pretty cool nonetheless. Patrick, the ninja clans in Mysteria are dying of mysterious sickness, and they've been guided towards the pits to find answers and finding these plagues. No, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. Katsu's village is dying from a disease, isn't it? I think that was one of the first stories from Katsu, wasn't it? The fact that he was travelling looking for a sickness to his village or whatever. Dishonor, we've seen this one already. So I'm not going to go into it too much, but obviously Blue Pitch, 0 cost, ninja attack action, costs 0, blocks for 3, attacks for 2, and if Bonds of Ancestry was allowed to attack this combat chain, it goes up to 4 attack, so a nice little breakpoint on there. And if this hits, if you control Surging Strike, Descendant Gust Wave, and Bonds of Ancestry, that hero loses all abilities for the rest of the game. So yeah, this turns off things like Dromai, things like Kano, just a load of different heroes that just rely on their hero ability, just basically just die after this. Yeah, pretty cool, but obviously you have to have a long chain of stuff with named cards on them, right? The Dishonor line is insane, Supperworm is saying. Yeah, I imagine it is absolutely insane. How hard is it to get off, though? Do you have to really sort of... do you really have to sort of lean into the fact of getting those combos off by changing the names of cards, or can you get it off naturally? Getting rid of equipment, Grasp of the Arknight can be banished and no more rune chants on demand. That's true, Andrew. Cheers for pointing that out. Yeah, obviously I don't really know the intricacies of Ninja. Dishonor is nuts. There are some ninjas that have been playing 6 Surgings for a long time that are very happy to see this set. 6 Surgings. Not hard to pull off at all. Okay, nice. Well, that's good and bad to know at the same time. What were you playing? Were you playing... Oh, okay, you're testing online, you said, weren't you? Yeah, so you weren't actually playing limited or anything. Friend pulled it off every other turn. Nice. Cool, yeah, we all know Dishonor's pretty good. Next, you got Heads Leads the Tail. So this is a 1-cost Majestic. When this attacks, name another card. Attack action cards with that name have +1 this combat chain. So what's this good in? Tigers? Again, I'm not very familiar with but obviously every other attack action card gets +1. It's got to be a Tiger Katsu card, surely. Head Leads the Tail. But a 3 attack with Go Again, blocks for 2. I imagine that's good in Tigers and going excessively wide with Art of Wars and all that sort of thing, right? 70% natural, 30% name change. Dishonor as combo is easy, harder to get. Okay. Nice. Next one is Wander with Purpose. This is a Benji specialization. This costs nothing to play. Attacks for 2 and it has Go Again. Blocks for 3. When this hits, you may discard a card with cost 0. If you do, search your deck for a card with combo, banish it, then shuffle. You may play it this turn. So I have no clue what you would search for with this Wander with Purpose. What would you search for with this? You discard a 0 cost, which is probably going to be easy. It's going to be a blue 0 cost most of the time, isn't it? You search a card with a deck for a card with combo, banish it, and then shuffle. Can you go and get? Oh, what's the combo Benji card? What's that called? Bloody. Oh, what's it called? Can't remember what it's called. I can see the art, but I cannot remember what it's called. Can you go and search for that with this? I don't know. Chat might have to save me with these ninja cards, so I have no clue what they do, how they can be utilised. But yeah, cool to see that Benji's getting a specialisation. And it's also another sort of speculation I made was that everybody would get specialisations, and that is the case, I believe. Does Katsu have one? He does, yeah. He has the Flying Dojo thing, doesn't he? So yeah, my prediction on the specialisations, everybody getting one, is true. How would you make Benji playable? Let's give him 1 turn to be Katsu. Amazing. Spring Tidings, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Can you go and search for Spring Tidings with Wander? Or not? But anyway, next one is Silverwind Shuriken, a 0-cost blue pitch card. And it has an attack reaction. You can... oh, it's an item. Fuck me, I didn't even realise. So as an attack reaction, you can destroy it, and target attack action card with combo gets +1. So you can play this down, and then it gives your next attack action card with combo +1 if you destroy it as an attack reaction. That's interesting. So is that forcing maybe on hits through, like an alternative to Ancestral Empowerment? Silverwind Shuriken, is that like a Ancestral Empowerment sort of style thing? Next you've got Visit the Flying Dojo. So this is a 0-cost Katsu specialization. Fantastic art on this as well, by the way. Absolutely love it. And this just says, put Surging Strike and a card of combo from your graveyard on the top and or bottom of your deck. So again, this is just pure alien to me with regards to the ninja cards. So again, if you're watching this on demand later on, leave a comment in the section below as to how you could use this, because, you know, enlighten me. I don't have a clue how you would use these cards with Ninja. But yeah, 0 cost obviously fuels the Kodachis, I know that much. But then putting Surging Strikes in a card with combo from your graveyard on top of your bottom of your deck, why would you want to do that? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, speaking of combos and the other stuff we talked about earlier with Dishonor, Bonds of Ancestry comes in all pitched values. This is one of the ones that you need to get this combo line off. So obviously this is the one that you can. This is one that was released or sort of previewed early, wasn't it? So it's comes in all pitch values. It costs 2, so obviously attacks for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value, and it blocks for 3. Costs 2 to play. Has combo, of course. So if a card with Gust Wave in its name was the last attack on his combat chain, this costs 2 less. So if you played a Gust Wave, this comes in for nothing. You can play this card for nothing, and it says. Has Go Again, and when this attacks, you can banish a card with combo from your graveyard, and if you do, search your deck for a card with the same name, banish it, then shuffle. You may play it this combat chain. So yeah, just basically allows you to grab cards that you've put in the bin from earlier, and then combo them by banishing them and go and get one from the deck. So it's like an Tutor card on the attack as well. It is also quite an interesting ability. We don't really have many of these when you attack with this triggers. Because I think this effect has to be taken lightly in this game. I think it really, really does. Because when you attack with it, there's no gate. There's no sort of prerequisite as to getting that trigger off. So it's just when you attack, you do the thing. I think this effect needs to be used sparingly in the game, because that's too much value. But again, I don't really know how these combos and stuff work. I'm not really an aficionado with Ninja cards. I'm just covering them for the sake of doing this set review as such. Dojo is a grindy matchup like Targeted Remembrance. Oh, I see. Okay, nice. Thanks for the input, by the way, people. People that are more of aficionados with these heroes than me. I appreciate the enlightenment. This is all a learning curve for me, as it is for other people as well. So yeah, thanks for the insight. But yeah, that's the Bonds of Ancestry. Next, we've got Recoil, a 0 cost ninja attack action. Costs nothing to play. Attacks for 3, blocks for 3. And if Head Jab was the last attack this combat chain, this has, when this hits, they put a card from their hand on the top of their deck. Okay, it's like a little boomerang sort of style effect. You know, putting stuff on the top of their deck, sort of making them get rid of a card almost. That's quite cool, right? They put a card from their hand on top of their deck. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like any cards that sort of interact with a hand. So yeah, Recoil, I do like that. Obviously, that comes in all pitch values as well. Spinning Wheel Kick is obviously part of the Hurricane Roundhouse combo line. So obviously it comes in all pitch values, attacks for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value. Costs 1 to play, blocks for 2, has combo. And if Twin Twisters or Spinning Wheel Kick was the last attack this combat chain, this has +1, and when it hits, put it on the bottom of its owner's deck. So a nice little sort of attack that you can keep sort of recurring later on, because if it hits, you can just put it back to the bottom. So that's quite cool. Given how much discard is going on between these new cards and Cassie's effect, the ability to recycle cards could help Ninja get over the top. Absolutely, yeah. That's a good point, though. That's a good point. Tough to have it in hand at that time, though, for the dojo. Crippling Crush also does interact with the hand. Oh, I love Crippling Crush, don't we, Pascal? Hashtag Bravo Bros. Head Jab combos are garbage. Maybe okay, limited. Oh, okay, yeah, for the Recoil. Yeah, that could be the case, definitely. Probably a little more limited sealed card, I expect. Yeah, could be right. Next is Back Heel Kick. 0 cost, ninja attack. Attacks for 3, 2, or 1, depending on the pitch value. Also blocks for 3. Has combo. If Twin Twisters was the last attack, this combat chain, this has, if Back Heel Kick would gain power, instead, it gains that much +1. So there's a cool arrow effect that does this as well. We'll get to that later. But yeah, giving it extra power for nothing could be quite good. We'll see. Be Like Water. This is the interesting one that was that can replace a lot of things, I think. This is one that we have spoke about already on Living Legends podcast. So this is 0 cost attack action for Ninja. Can either attack for 3, 2, or 1, depending on the pitch value. Blocks for 2. And when it hits, you can pay 1. And if you do, choose Head Jab, Surging Strike, or Twin Twisters. And this becomes that, or gains the chosen name. So it can smooth out those combo lines. And it also allows you to not play some of those cards if you don't want to have those cards in there. So if you don't want Head Jabs in there because they're garbage, you know, people have the opinion that they're garbage, as Patrick Saw just said there, you can just play Be Like Water instead and have it become a Head Jab for all intensive purposes of fulfilling the combo line, which I think is pretty good. And obviously it's a way that they're smoothing out the design space for combo to become more versatile, which I think is probably what this class needed. Although I'm not too versed in it, I have heard that obviously it's just, you know, jumping through many hoops to get the valuable combo lines off is hard. In CC especially, I could be wrong. Don't have much experience with it, but I think it's a good way of smoothing out those combos, this sort of style of effect. Deadly Duo. This is cool. This is Benji here, isn't it? Benji in the art and somebody else, I think. So 1 cost, ninja attack action, costs 1 to play, attacks for 3, 2, or 1, depending on the pitch value, blocks for 2. When this hits, the next attack action card, you with 2 or less base power, you play this combat chain gains +2. So that's a cool little Benji sealed limited card, right? Deadly Duo. Because you play this blue one, they can't block it because it's got 1 attack, and then the next attack action card you play with 2 or less base power gets +2. And does Benji say base power, or does it say attack action cards with 2 power can't be defended from cards from hand? 2 or less power can't be defended from cards on hand. So yeah, if you attack react with a with something, that they can still block it, can't they? Is that right? How does that work? I haven't played Benji too often. So if you attack with this, and then you buff it with like a attack reaction, can they then block with cards from hand? Can they do that? I don't know. Be Like Water is just a placeholder for the missing surging piece. Whatever that means. Whatever that means, yeah, absolutely. Whatever the chat said there, supper worm. Ninja is not my forte, but I'm just reading these out regardless. I appreciate everybody who's here nonetheless. Descendant Gustwave costs 1 to play, blocks for 2, attacks for 3, 2, or 1, depending on the pitch value. And if Surging Strike was the last contact his combat chain, this costs nothing to play and has +2. So yeah, that's okay, isn't it? With Surging Strike, this makes this attack free with that combo line, I guess. Then we've got a reprint of Head Jab, of course, the 0 cost Go Again attack for 3, 2, or 1 with Go Again, blocks for 2. 1, 2 punch. This is a 0 cost attack, ninja attack action, blocks for 3 as well, this one. And attacks for 3, 2, or 1, depending on the pitch value. So this could be quite, the 1, 2 punch might be quite good in Benji. Yeah, this could be quite good in Benji, right? Because obviously it can't be blocked. It costs nothing. It blocks for 3. It's a blue pitch. And if Head Jab was the last attack, this gains when it hits, deal 2 damage to them. So this could be quite good Benji, maybe. Like the Head Jabs and the 1, 2 punches for Benji could be quite good, because this is forcing extra damage through once the Head Jab's been fulfilled, I guess. Could be wrong, but that could be. That's what I'm seeing, like a good Benji blues and yellows situation going on there. Surging Strike, obviously it's a reprint, we've seen that already, and then Twin Twisters is a reprint, we've seen that already in Dynasty, I believe, or no, Everfest. Was it Everfest? Twin Twisters, might have been. But yeah, some cool cards. I like the premise there. There's a lot of cool cards for limited and sealed as well. Like the ones that stuck out to me are these two for Benji, 1, 2 punch. I think those are quite cool for Benji. But yeah. Not too versed on ninja cards, as you can probably tell. Surging Strike ×9, Be Like Water on the on-hit condition is a little meh. What, on 1, 2 punch? You've lost me. But yeah, now let's go into Ranger stuff. This is where the fun begins. So actually know to a certain degree what I'm speaking about now. So obviously Azalea was reprinted in this set. Fantastic, lovely old job. This is probably going to be the set that sort of gets up there to start winning events, and hopefully we can get further with this card pool. If we can attend more events this year, we'll see. Definitely going to the Calling in Birmingham for the UK event. I've booked my hotel already, so that's going to be good fun. So I will be taking Azalea to that, and hopefully we can get some good results. We'll see. As you know, though, if you watch Go Again Gaming, if you participate in the community that we've built here, it is very, very casual. It's just sort of carefree environment, just having fun with the game. So who knows? But yeah, I like to think I've got some knowledge of this hero, of course. Ranger stuff, let's go. Absolutely. Absolutely Carnival Hawk. But yeah, Azalea was reprinted in the set, so it's good to see that our favourite hero, the absolute cult leader herself, is well, not even the cult leader, the sort of the icon that the cult was built upon, is being reprinted in the set with some awesome tools and tricks up our sleeve now to delve into. But not only that, we had Riptide be revealed as well by DM Armada. Fantastic content creator out there. Obviously, everybody know who he is by now. But yeah, this is a cool card, and I did predict what the ability was to a certain degree on this. So whenever you play a card from hand, you may put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal. So basically, whenever you play a card from hand, reload is basically what it's saying. So that's pretty cool. So you can do this on your opponent's turn as well to put traps into your arsenal. So all the traps that were printed in Crucible of War, Pitfall, Rock Slide and Tripwire, all can now be put into your arsenal on your own turn if you play another D-React or like a Sigil or anything that can be played on your opponent's turn. You can then reload the card or put the card face down into your arsenal, which you wouldn't have been able to defend with from hand, which is cool with Riptide. Because that's what I did predict. I said that in order to make traps, the old traps work at least, you would need to be able to reload on your opponent's turn. And that's exactly what this card is doing. It's reloading on your opponent's turn. It's essentially using like a... It's how we wanted to... how Azalea wanted to work. If you want to use Trap Azalea, you want to use all of the take covers. And I had a really old deck back in the day which actually ran all of the take covers. I never ever used my bow to load my arsenal. It was always reload effects and take covers for the following turn after the defensive turn. But yeah, going into this, it's pretty cool. It allows you to use the traps that were garbage before to a certain degree now, and whenever a trap you control triggers, deal 1 damage to the attacking hero. So again, that's the reason why he has lesser life, is because he can deal damage to you on your turn, when you're attacking. Riptide can deal damage to you, which is again another thing that I said in Azalea Cult episodes, in Living Legends. Why do heroes have lesser life? It's because they can deal damage to you when you're attacking them, when you're attacking into them. So things like Pitfall Trap, things like Riptide's ability here can deal damage to you even when you're when you're defending, or when the other hero is attacking you, which is why I've got lesser life. I don't know whether this is going to be good or not. I'm sure a lot of people are trying to crack it at the moment, even though the cards aren't released. I'll probably give it a go. I probably will give Riptide a go. I've got a lot of Ranger cards already, as you probably know. But yeah, Riptide's pretty cool. I probably will give it a go at some point. But yeah, and it comes obviously with a Blitz version or a young version as well with 19 life. So yeah, pretty cool. Supreme Leader time. Praise be our Supreme Leader. Absolutely. I just want to play my Cold Foil Horizons with Azalea. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I just don't know. I just don't think New Horizons is the way forward. But we will see. We could be proven wrong, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there testing and trying to crack Azalea before it's even released. I'm sure there's people out there doing that right now. Anyway, Barbed Castaway is the bow that we were given in this set, and I think this is quite good. Actually, especially if you want to do a reload / aim counter deck. So let's read this. So obviously, once per turn instant, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. So first of all, you can either do this on your turn to just fire off an arrow that's in your hand. You pay 1 and you put something into your arsenal to fire it off. You can do that with this bow, or you can reload it on your, or you can do it on your opponent's turn to then crack back with on the start. So at the start of the turn, if you're going second, you can essentially reload a card into your arsenal and then draw up, which is another reason why this is quite cool. Is you can do that on the defending turn. You can do it on the first turn, so you can always have a sort of advantage in cards right from the off, because you can put something into your arsenal, then draw up to 4 cards with 1 card in your arsenal already. You can't really flip it face up to put an aim counter on it, but there's something there in your arsenal already, which is face up, that you can then crack back with. And if you're using things like Point the Tip will put an aim counter on the thing that's face up and give it a buff, which could also be quite good in a sort of an aim counter build. But yeah, once per turn instant is always good, because you don't lose the go again ability either, because it's an instance. You don't use an action point for it. But one of the things that I thought of with this card is the second ability here, the once per turn instant of paying 1 and turning a face down arrow in your arsenal face up and putting an aim counter on it. You could actually go with like a sort of reload build. Even with Azalea, you could go with like a reload build, you know, stuff that reload cards into your arsenal face down, with like things like Overflex, things like Take Aim. I think stuff like Poison the Tips also put stuff into their reload ability. There's a lot of reload effects that Azalea has access to that will allow you to then actually get aim counters on things that are in your arsenal, rather than the Sandscour or Crow's Nest effect, which we will get to in a bit. But if you put something in your arsenal through reload, you're putting it in there face down. What you can then do, if you are using reload effects, you can play a Take Aim, for instance, reload a card into your arsenal, then use the second effect on this bow to turn it face up and put an aim counter on it. That is a way of essentially getting any card in your hand an aim counter, because with the other cards, like the Crow's Nest, for instance, whenever an arrow is put into your arsenal from your deck, you may pay 1 if you do put an aim counter on it. And it's the same with Sandscour Greatbow. Whenever a card comes into your arsenal face up from your deck, it gets an aim counter. But with Barbed Castaway, if you're using reload effects, where you put things into your arsenal face down, what you can then essentially do is flip that card face up and give it an aim counter. So you can essentially use any arrow card with reload and have that aim counter effect on board all the time with Barbed Castaway. Whereas with the Crow's Nest or with Sandscour Greatbow, you need to have been able to set up that aim counter. So if you're looking at an aim counter deck, you could actually utilise and sort of leverage the reload effects and Barbed Castaway to be able to get more sort of aim counter shenanigans. And also, if you're putting things down face down through reload, you can also use things like the Crossbone, Skullbone Crosswrap to flip it face up, have a look at the top card, and then potentially use Azalea's ability to flip that card into your arsenal, then activate the Crow's Nest if you're using that as well, to then give that an aim counter. So I think if you're going for like pure aim counters, I think Barbed Castaway might be a better option to use, because you have more options, especially if you are using the reload effects and then the follow-up ability with the once per turn instant. It could be quite resource intensive, but that is what I thought about it to begin with. I thought about, okay, how can we utilise this second ability here of turning things face up and putting aim counters on it? Because the other cards that put the aim counters on, they have to come from your deck. They have to come from your deck. So in Azalea, how do you get things into your arsenal from your deck? You use her ability, but that's it. That's the only way you can get things in there, unless you're using things like bloody Silver the Tip. That's the only other way, really, you're getting things into your arsenal from your deck. So there's a lot of setup to get aim counters through Crow's Nest and Sandscour Greatbow. Sandscour Greatbow is another thing you could potentially look at with regards to pure aim counters, but again, it's more of a setup-based situation because you have to look at the top card of your deck. But then you could also argue that Barbed Castaway and using the reload cards is also a way that you have to set up as well. But it could be easier. But that's just something that I thought of. I've chatted about Barbed Castaway now for about 5 minutes. But that's exactly what I thought of when I looked at the bottom ability there. So hopefully there's enough to take away and unpack there. But that's my initial thoughts on that. Trench of Sunken Treasure. This is cool, but I don't think it's an Azalea card. It could be in the sideboard for Arcane Barrier purposes, but I still think that Tunic is better, to be honest. So it's a Ranger equipment chest for blocks for 1, has Blade Break, so if you block of it, it just dies. And as a once per turn instant, you can put a face down card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck and gain a resource. So again, with this, it's probably something you want to activate on your opponent's turn. So it's definitely more of a Riptide card. Obviously, if you play a card with Riptide, let's say you play a Sink Below, you can then reload a card into your arsenal, and then you can use this instant speed to put it to the bottom of your deck and gain a resource. That resource could then be used for something like an Oasis Respite or something else that prevents damage. So you could be able to do something like that, or maybe things like Feign Death. You might have access to, be able to do that sort of thing instead. But yeah, I don't think it's really an Azalea card, but I think it's going to be an absolute slam dunk in Riptide decks because you're just going to have more of that face down card synergy on the defending turn. So yeah, that's Trench. Cool design space there, and Arcane Barrier 1 as well, staple to it. It's got to be good, right? Any class with the words Arcane Barrier on them is great. Absolutely, Andrew. Yeah, anything with Arcane Barrier stapled to it is just another option for sideboard if you're going in against wizards or any other sort of arcane classes. Next is the card that I spoiled, Quiver of Abyssal Depths. So thank you to LSS for allowing me to spoil such an awesome card. The artwork on this is fantastic as well. Absolutely love it. And just quivers in general are just an awesome design space that we're exploring now, and it's good to see that Rangers can now essentially start with different tools and different sort of advantages in play from the off. And I know that we did a little bit of trolling in our spoiler video with regards to this, and we said, oh yeah, we just beat 37 Oldims in a row. This probably won't beat 37 Oldims in a row, but what we were getting at is that obviously it's a piece of equipment that allows you to recur arrows for longer game styles. So if you are going in against a fatiguey sort of matchup, a longer matchup where you want to sort of potentially recur arrows that you want to use or want to fire off multiple times, and you can also view this as a way of saying, right, I've got 4 of my 3 favourite arrows in my deck because I can recur them all once at least, is another way of sort of building a deck around a certain suite of arrows, because you can get those arrows back into your deck by cracking this. I think it's a nice little place to be if you do want to have that ability available to you, which is quite nice. But yeah, that's a Quiver of Abyssal Depths. Awesome card. 2 more quivers as well. Rustling Leaves. This one was spoiled very, very early on, and at the artist booth. Again, I think it's more of a Lexi card, or maybe more of a card that you want to use to race the opponent. Because as an instant, you can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's an arrow, put it face up into your arsenal and destroy it. I think it's more of a racy, sort of 3-of-a-kind Art of War, smoothing out those massive Lexi-style turns. I don't think it's really an Azalea thing. But you could still... Although saying that, yes, I think it's more of a Lexi thing. But the sort of earthen, leafy feels of it does sort of allude to this, one of the next cards we're going to have a look at the moment, Amplifying Arrow, of maybe like a leafy, earthy Ranger almost. So could we see that in the future? I think we can. We are getting hints at like an earthen Ranger or a leafy Ranger. So we'll see. But that's cool. And then we have this card, Crow's Nest, an Azalea specialization. So Azalea can have this token straight off the bat if she wants. In Sealed and Limited, I believe, you can have this straight away. But whenever an arrow is put face up into your arsenal from your deck, of course, you may pay 1 if you do put an aim counter on it. So this is allowing you to, if you're running the aim counter matters cards, if it's on top of your deck, you're going to be able to put it into your arsenal with Azalea's ability of Dominate, and then pay the extra 1 to put the aim counter on it. It's a way of achieving the aim counter shenanigans when you need it. And I think most of the time when you're trying to access a aim counter arrow, you probably want that arrow to hit, so you are probably playing it off the top of your deck with Azalea's ability anyway, so the extra 1 that you pay to put an aim counter on it is just a little bit of redundancy in getting those aim counter matters to really matter when you need them to. Although, as I mentioned earlier with the Barbed Castaway, if you want more of a consistent aim counter strategy, it might be worth trying this in tandem with the Crow's Nest, in fact, to make sure you get as much aim counter possibility as possible, with reload mechanics thrown in as well, with the buffs. But yeah, Crow's Nest, I think it's very cool, and a way of getting redundant aim counters on stuff when you need to use them off the top with Azalea's ability. Driftwood Quiver is a Riptide specialization, so obviously only Riptide can use it. And as an instant, you can destroy it and put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. So I have no idea why you'd want to use this. Put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. It doesn't even replace itself. So I don't understand why you would want to do this. I think it's potentially a way of unscrewing yourself. So if you've got something stuck in your arsenal and you can't use it, you can then get rid of it by using the Driftwood Quiver, which doesn't seem like a great place to be. But if you've got like a trap stuck in your arsenal or defense reaction stuck in your arsenal, you can't really get it out of there unless you're Azalea, where you can activate Azalea blindly and then replace the arsenal card with the top card of your deck. So I think Riptide does need some sort of fail safe to get that thing out of his arsenal if it's stuck in there, which is probably fair enough, I guess. This is just a draft limited card, Wayfinder's Crest, Ranger Equipment Head, 1 Blade Break. When you defend with it, you can look at the top card of target hero's deck. So yeah, probably not something we're really going to be using like in CC or anything, or probably not even in Blitz really, but I don't know, maybe there's some sort of synergy of top cards of the target hero's deck, but yeah, probably not something we're going to be using anytime soon. Avoid CNC, get the trap out of the way of the arrow. Get the trap out of the way of the arrow. Okay, yeah. I guess you can get things out of your arsenal for when CNC's coming in. Yeah, I guess that's true. You can save your arsenal for CNC effects. That's true. That's another good utilization. Nice one. But speaking of earthen or sort of earthy rangers, we're looking at Amplifying Arrow. This is an awesome piece of art here from someone who's looking like they're shooting a leaf at someone, which is interesting. So loving the art on this one here. But yeah, a yellow pitch card, costs 0 to play, blocks for 3, so quite cool. Attacks for 2. But if this is face up in any zone, if it would gain power, it instead gains that much +1. So this could essentially become very big, very fast for no resources. So I don't know whether this is like an Azalea card. Maybe it could be more of a Lexi card. But it can get very big very quickly for no resources, essentially. I think there's just going to be better arrows out there. It's a yellow pitch, blocks for 3, so who knows, but I think there's better arrows out there rather than just giving this raw damage. It's amplifying all of your no pun intended, all of your buff effects, but only for this arrow in particular. So comes in for 2 naturally. So if you play a red take aim, for instance, it gets +3, then the +1 from this. Then if you play another take aim, you can get a +3, +1. So it could potentially come in for like 10 damage for 3 cards, maybe. A couple of buff and Amplifying Arrow would be insane, especially if you can Azalea it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could get some excessive raw damage through on this, but it will cost you a lot of cards to do that. It's pretty cool though, and I love where they're going with the art. I'd love to see this sort of leafy ranger in the future, which is more of like a tank ranger, right? Something like Channel Mount Heroic. You play Channel Mount Heroic, you get loads of earthy arrows being flying off for +3. Imagine that. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I've been looking for the Earth Ranger since I saw Lexi was a non-Earth based Ranger. Absolutely kind of are, and this sort of hints towards that. You know, you got sort of vines wrapping around her feet here. She's firing a leafy arrow, full of like leaves and stuff. So yeah, it looks like we could see that in the future. But yeah, not sure on this yet. But again, I haven't really played with any of the cards yet, so I can't really tell at this point. This is a sick one though, Barbed Undertow. This is a majestic. Costs 1 to play, blocks for 3, attacks for 5. But if it has an aim counter on it, it gains when this hits a hero, choose red, yellow, or blue, and so at the start of the next turn they can't pitch cards of the chosen colour. So this is really, really good against like Bravo and Guardians, people that care about blue pitch stuff. You can essentially take away their turn to a certain degree because they're very, very blue intensive, right? So they want to play a lot of massive blue attacks, massive attacks that are fueled by blue cards. Even if swinging with Anathos costs 3, you're still going to be, you won't be able to do that with your hand most of the time. And if you do, it's not going to be for the maximum value either. So yeah, choosing blue against Guardians is very good. Choosing red against Dromai is quite good if they're using a lot of red line stuff. And then even choosing things like choosing blue against stuff like Phi, shutting down their blue cards that fuel their entire turns, I think is a very, very good ability to have. And again, just making sure that you get the aim counter on there is pivotal to this as well. So obviously this is probably one of the cards that you do want to force the on hit through. So this is probably one of the ones that you want to be setting up with Crow's Nest to make sure you can get the dominated effect through. So when it's put in with into your deck face up, you pay the 1 to give it an aim counter. But yeah, it's something that's very, very good, and cannot wait to use this one. I think it's an auto sideboard, at least in an Icelander Guardian meta. Absolutely, yeah. If there's a lot of blues going around, you want to be putting this in there. Looks like Rudy has spoiled his Cold Foil Merchant card. Oh, really? Okay, might have time for that today. We'll see. Next, you've got some Riptide Traps. So these are quite cool. Buzzsaw Trap, spoiled by the Tall Timmy. That was a fantastic spoiler video. I'm not sure if you've seen that, people, but that was awesome. That was a funny one. That was actually directly after my one, I think, on the Sunday night last week. Yeah, so this is a blue pitch, blocks for 3. It's a 0 cost. A defense reaction trap, can be played from hand now because obviously the don't need that trap text anymore. But this says when this is defends an attack with power greater than its base, the attack can't gain power this turn. So that's really cool. That can shut off a lot of massive turns. So when this defends an attack with power greater than its base, the attack can't gain power this turn. So that just shuts off. Does that shut off things that have been Channel Mount Heroic? Pretty sure it does, doesn't it? Evening, Big Boss. Hope you're doing well, mate. Barbed is crazy scary. It really is, especially as a Guardian player, I imagine. You get hit with that, you can't pitch any blue cards. You're pretty much taking a turn off, right? Pretty much taking a turn off. Collapsing Trap. Obviously, we've seen this one already. This is a 0 cost trap. Obviously, only Riptide can use it. Blocks for 3, pitches with blue, and when this defends attack with Go Again, the attacking hero discards their hand and draws that many cards, -1. So yeah, a cool card for disrupting the chain of events that is about to happen from the aggro player, but they can still draw up their hand -1 card and still carry on that stuff. So it can either go one of two ways, really. It does interact with them. It does say that they discard a card, so they're not going to be able to do potentially as much damage as they could have done before, but they can still carry on doing stuff. And again, with Riptide as well, as I mentioned, obviously his hero ability, whenever he plays a trap, he deals 1 damage to someone. And I mentioned this on the Living Legends podcast as well, where we spoke about Riptide and traps. I said, are you telling me that this deals no damage to someone? A collapsing trap. Let's be honest, all these people falling into the ocean here. Are you saying to me that this doesn't deal damage? Yes, it does deal damage. Every trap, when it triggers, deals 1 damage to the opposing hero. So I was correct in thinking that. Spike Pit Trap. I was going to say Spike Feeders Trap then. Great channel. Go and check them out. Another blue pitch 3-block trap. Costs 0 to play. And it says when this defends and the attacking hero has played or activated an attack reaction or a reaction this chain link, put the top card of their deck into their graveyard. Then they lose X life, where X is the number of cards in their graveyard with that name. So punishing a lot of people that like to run the same name cards. So it could be good for more sort of punishing combo decks. Maybe the people that want to sort of run a lot of the combos. But yeah, a lot of these effects are very niche, aren't they? Very niche effects. But good to note that obviously whenever you play a trap, you deal 1 damage. That's quite cool. Next Ranger card is Melting Point. I'm not sure whether we're going to be using this, but it's a cool card nonetheless, right? It's a mere flesh wound. Absolutely, Super Mario Black Tiger. Screws with combo lines trying to go off. Absolutely, Andrew. I thought that was the case. Hello, Fab Nordic. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, Melting Points. This is a 1-cost Ranger action. Blocks for 3. And it says the next arrow attack you play this turn gains +4. So pretty similar to the red Overflex. Red Overflex does exactly the same thing. You pay 1, you reload a card, and your next arrow gets +4. And then this says, go again. If this has a name counter, it gains when this hits a hero, destroy one-handed weapon they control with 1 base power. So this is cool for obviously destroying the daggers that are obviously going to be prevalent in sort of the set, especially in sort of draft and limited. Maybe you could just destroy people's weapons and they won't be able to do anything about it. It is quite niche. But the thing to sort of consider here is the fact that it blocks for 3 as well. One of the main reasons why a lot of us were using Deadeye in previous lists was the fact that it gives you a buff, which is good, but also the utilization of the fact it blocks for 3 and it was a yellow pitch Deadeye was a reason why a lot of people were using it. But Melting Point is a red, so it's not as sort of flexible as Deadeye if you're looking at both a resource for pitching, a block for 3, and a buff. You're sort of losing out on the pitch value for the extra point of damage on this card. So I don't know whether it's going to be used too much. We'll see. It's a nice buff, but I think I would rather use Overflex if I was using this. Well, probably not actually, because it blocks for 2 Overflex, but it reloads as well. So there's a lot of things to consider with Melting Point and other cards that we have access to. Boulder Trap, this is a cool one. A yellow pitch, 0-cost card, blocks for 3 as a defense reaction trap. So obviously Azalea could use this if they want, you know. Right Time Gaming, morning. Hope you're doing well, friend. How's it going? Making a coffee, I assume. Boulder Trap, but yeah, any ranger can use this. When this defends an attack with power greater than its base, put a -1 counter on an equipment the attacking hero controls. That's quite interesting. Again, quite niche, but a way of just literally saying, I'm going to take away your equipment piece by piece if you're buffing your attacks. So yeah, pretty cool that every ranger can use that. And similar to this next one, Pendulum Trap, another yellow pitch, 0-cost, blocks for 3. When this defends and the attacking hero has played or activated a reaction, this chain link, put the top 2 cards of their deck into their graveyard. So again, something for punishing warriors or punishing defensive. Well, yeah, it would be punishing warriors or anyone attack reacting because it's when you're defending. So yeah, with Riptide, you play this, deal 1 damage, and if they played an attack reaction, you mill them for 2, essentially. So that's quite cool as well. Pendulum Trap. That card is strong against Guardian. What, Boulder Trap? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because you're getting buffs from Anathos, you're getting buffs from Tear Asunder, you're getting buffs from all sorts of different things, aren't you? So you can just whittle away your equipment with boulder traps. Which makes sense, because Guardians wouldn't be able to get away from a boulder, would they? Because they're wearing so much armor, so they can't actually dodge it. So it makes sense. Tar Pit Trap is quite cool. 0-cost, yellow pitch, blocks for 3. Defense reaction. Trap, of course. Obviously, when you play this with Riptide, deals 1 damage to them. And then when this defense attack with Go Again, the next time an attack action card hits this turn, effects don't trigger at all. So that's pretty cool as well. So you can stop some horrible on hits with that if you've defended attack with go again. So this could actually do a lot of horrible things to Azuri, right? So if they attack first of all with their dagger, you can then essentially tar pit trap them, because obviously the dagger has go again, and then the next time they attack with another sort of high value attack that they might want to cheat into play with Azuri, those on hit effects won't trigger at all. So this could actually be a nice little bit of tech against Azuri if they swing with their dagger first, because then you can just tar pit trap it, and then you can essentially just take away all the value that they're getting from cheating in their cards. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't really think of attack with go again. I guess Briar, maybe, if they're going like the Force of Nature turns, you could essentially defend with an attack with go again, and then they won't be able to do the on hit effects of the Force of Nature. Maybe it's the next time attack action card this hits this turn, defects don't trigger, so it's only the next time. Yeah, I think the 1-2 punches, the Azaleas will probably hate this, the Azuris will probably hate this as well. Anything that's sort of like a bolt and shot, which gives the next thing go again, or like a dagger swing and then a big maybe cheated in Azuri card. Tar Pit Trap doesn't do that any favors at all. So that's quite cool. Fletch the red, yellow, or blue tails. These are quite interesting. So these are buff cards that are giving your next arrow plus 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value. Red is 4, yellow is 3, blue is 2. They all block for 2. And it says if it has an aim counter, it gains red cards have -1 while defending this. So a nice little bit of targeted hatred, really. So if you know what sort of meta you're going into, you can be like, oh yeah, there's a lot of blues going around here, I could maybe use this to get more value out of blue cards at defending. Or if it's very aggro based, you can go in against red cards, get -1 while defending. Well, probably not, because obviously the aggro doesn't want to defend anyway, but you know what I mean. It's a very, very interesting card utilization, but very, very niche at the same time. So I don't know whether we're going to be using these, but it's cool to have options, right? It's cool to have options. Ninja or Briar, absolutely. Yeah, the Tar Pit Trap. Yeah, I agree. Then we have Lace With. So these are quite cool. So these are buffs. So it gives our next arrow attack +3 and a on hit of producing a disease. So this is pretty cool, because the Lace with Blood Rot is nasty, because obviously it gives it +3 for nothing as well. This costs nothing to play, which is quite good. So depending on what sort of meta you're going into, again, these things here are good for sideboarding, because they give you so much varying effects. And I think that's what Ranger needs, is that sort of targeted meta stuff, right? So yeah, this could essentially simulate 0 for 5 with the Blood Rot as well, because the Blood Rot obviously deals them 2 damage at the end of their next turn unless they pay the resources. And then also you can have the Lace of Inertia effect as well, which is essentially like a Seek and Destroy on a buff. So this is basically like a discount Seek and Destroy if it allows them to hit. So you could actually view this Lace with Inertia as another copy of Seek and Destroy, which I think is pretty nasty, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think I rate the Lace of Inertia quite a lot. Frailty is very, very niche, and then Blood Rot is just raw damage. So yeah, that could be quite cool. Falcon Shot, or Falcon Wing, sorry, is another sort of card that is inherently got go again. So we don't really have much of this in Azalea or Ranger or Standard Ranger. I know Lexi has a lot of go again, she can use Voltaire, but there isn't too many options for Rangers at the moment, Standard Rangers at least, to go very, very wide. But Falcon Wing is one of those ones that you can now include if you do want to go that way. And the thing is, with attacks that have go again, with things that have go again, it's hard to justify it without having to build your deck around it, because you can only load 1 arrow a turn with Azalea or with Riptide, right? You can only load really one arrow a turn unless you're reloading things in. And to be able to get that sort of chain off, you need a lot of those cards to be able to sort of do that thing. So it's hard to do, I think. I think going wide or going excessively wide with Ranger is hard to do unless you've got all the sort of tri-shots and 3-of-a-kinds and all that sort of stuff in there, which I think is just too much to make work at the moment. But it's cool to have the option at least. It's a 0 cost. Could probably be better in a sort of draft and limited environment where you might just want to just go a little bit wider. But yeah, I don't really see a space for it outside of that, unfortunately. These ones are cool though, and this was obviously my good friend Bill from the Spike Feeders preview card, Infecting Shot. A fantastic video that went along with this as well. But yeah, this could be a replacement for the raw damage dealer of Headshot. So this is a 1-cost arrow, blocks for 3 and attacks for 5, but if it has an aim counter it goes up to 6. So this could be a 1 for 6 if it has an aim counter on it, which is similar rate to Headshot. But if this hits a hero, create a Blood Rock Pox token onto their controls. This is essentially a 1 for 7 if it hits, which is better than Headshot, but it could be a 1 for 8 if it's got an aim counter. So if we look at the line of Barbed Castaway earlier that we were speaking about, right, you could essentially play something like, let's just say you play Lace with Blood Rot. This gives your next arrow +3 until end of turn. No, not Lace with Blood Rot. Sorry, Take Aim. We'll go with a Take Aim line instead, because this is what I was talking about earlier. So you play a Take Aim red, gives your next arrow or next ranger attack +3. You then reload the Infecting Shot into your arsenal. So obviously this is going to come in for 8 with the +3. Then you use your Barbed Castaway to flip up this card, flip up the face down arrow face up and put an aim counter on it. That will give it the +1. So that's now a 9 attack for 1, which has a create a Blood Rot Pox under their control if it hits. And that's cost you one resource to do because you just reloaded it in. No, sorry, 2 resources because you've used a bow as well. But pretty cool. Infecting Shot can deal a load of damage, and it could be good with Azalea activations as well. So that comes in all pitch values as well. Next one is Murkmire Grapnel. Again, comes in all pitch values. Costs nothing to play this one. And if it has an aim counter again, it gets +1, and it says damage that will be dealt by it can't be prevented. So this could be one of those ones that could come in handy later on, because so you can't have damage be prevented by things like Oasis Respite or Crown of Seeds or any of those sort of damage prevention stuff. So that's quite cool. I don't know how much it's going to be used, but it's a cool effect to have. Damage can't be prevented. Then we've got Sedation Shot. So this is exactly the same as the Blood Rot arrow, but obviously it deals inertia tokens. And again, I think inertia tokens are very good. I think they are awesome because obviously it's a little mini pseudo seek and destroy effect, which is a great way of just taking away card advantage and taking away the ability of the tempo of the opponent to be able to arsenal cards and sort of play playing to a 5-card hand is dangerous. So taking away that ability with the sedation, the inertia, the seek and destroy, the lace with inertia, I think is going to be quite good. I think I'm going to be leaning into inertia a little bit because I like to say no, sorry mate, you're not going to be able to arsenal a card. I do like taking that away from people. Skybound Shot, interesting card. Just a 1-cost attack, blocks for 3, comes in attacks of 5, 3 or 5, 4 or 3 depending on the pitch value. And if it has an aim counter, it gets +1. So it's just, if it has an aim counter, it's an okay rate attack. That's essentially all it is, right? Not much else. Spire Sniping is quite good though. I think I do like this one. The art on this is absolutely awesome as well. Absolutely love this art. It's fantastic. So yeah, it comes in all pitch values, so it attacks for 5, 4 or 3, depending on those pitch values, blocks for 3 as well, costs 1 to play, and obviously this says, when Spire Sniping is put or turned face up in Arsenal, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, then put them back in any order. So this is pretty good. It's like Ridge Rider Shot, but you go deeper. So if you're looking for that, if you're digging for that, that card that you want to dominate with Azalea, I think this is probably better than Ridge Rider Shot. It comes in for 5 as well, so that's pretty good. But yeah, if you activate Death Dealer with if you activate Death Dealer, you can then put Spire Sniping into your arsenal and draw a card, and then you can look at the top 2 cards. So you're essentially going 3 cards deep with this, because you're drawing a card off of Death Dealer and then looking at the top 2 cards and then putting back in any order. It just gives you more. It just gives you more depth into your deck. So if you are looking for that certain card that you want to dominate with Azalea, after you drew that card from Death Dealer, it's allowing you to potentially find that thing easier, which is pretty good. And you can even go very, very deep as well with Skullbone, because if Spire Sniping is face down, the effect still triggers when it's turned face up. So if it's in your arsenal face down, you activate Skullbone, you flip it face up, you then look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. So you're essentially getting an opt and the top 2 of this. So you're actually going 3 cards deep with the Skullbone on board as well. So that's another thing as well that works. I don't know how the trigger would stack. So if you'd resolve the Skullbone first, right? So if this was in your arsenal face down, you'd flip it face up with Skullbone, opt 1, have a look. I don't want that. That can go to the bottom, and then you trigger the Spire Sniping effect. Look at the top 2 cards, put them back in any order. I think that's how that would work. I think you can stack it in that way, or whatever way works best for you. I think that's how it works. I'm not a judge, so I'd have to check as to how that works. Jim, do you know how that would work with Spire Sniping? But yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's another way of just going very, very deep with Azalea. Maybe sort of digging out your dominated arrow when you need it. Widowmaker is an interesting card. This is quite cool. So this is a 1-cost arrow which attacks for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value, and it blocks for 3. And it says defense reactions can't be played to Widowmaker's chain link. So nothing at all, no D-reacts at all can be played, which is nice. And it says if it's defended by by fewer than 2 cards, it has +3. So it's essentially a 1 for 7 if you can make it work with the red one, or a 1 for 6, or a 1 for 5 with the gates that you have to get through to make it work. It's pretty cool because obviously if you can dominate this, they can only block with 1 card from hand, which is good. They can still block with a card from their arsenal though, but they can't use defense reactions at all. So they can still use things like, there was a card in this set, which we'll probably get to in a bit, which allows you to block from arsenal. But the problem with this is, if they've got any sort of battle-worn equipment out, or any other equipment that blocks for nothing, like a if you're playing the mirror match, for instance, the bullseye braces can still be put on the chain. But if they block with a 0 block equipment and a card from hand, this turns off the effect. It turns off the Widowmaker effect. So if they have any battle worn out, they can just say no to this effect. So if you can get it off, the rate on it is insane. But I don't know how often you're going to be able to get it off, to be honest with you. Even if you dominate it, I don't know. I still think they're going to be able to stop the massive rate that you're getting from this. I could be wrong. And as you're saying, Conovar, the art is absolutely awesome. It's just a lady sitting on a pile of bodies. Yeah, it's just awesome. It's lovely art, isn't it? We could try and zoom in a little bit here if we want to zoom in. There we go. Look at that. Oh, that's rubbish. Can't even zoom in very well. But yeah, it's cool. It's a nice card. I love the art on it. It's awesome. It's sexy. It's powerful. But I don't know how much I evaluate the card, really. I could be completely wrong. I haven't played with any of these cards yet. I don't know how they really perform or anything as of right now. But yeah, ask me in a few weeks maybe. I mean, you would opt first if activating Skullbone. Yeah, I thought so. Good looking redhead that says no G-reacts. Win, absolutely. Even without Dominate, it's good for encouraging a 2-card block. Don't care for Widowmaker, just due to effective ease of stopping the effect. Absolutely. Downsides it, they block with snaps and having to nerf the damage. Downside to it is if they block with snaps and have nothing to nerf the damage. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I feel like I feel like it's when it can be good, it can be really good, but when it's got a high ceiling but a low floor, I think is the issue. There's too much variety on the card, I think. There's too much variety on it. It can either do loads of damage or nothing at all, I think. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Withering Shot is just one of those cards that generates the plagues on hit with the Frailty token. I'm not sure if Frailty tokens, I think, are the worst ones, to be honest. I think in Limited and Draft they might be good. So obviously a lot of cards are going to be played from Arsenal, and obviously it's going to be daggers being swung at you. So I think in the Draft and Sealed event, Draft and Sealed environment, the Frailty is going to be a lot more effective. But in Constructed, I don't think it's going to be that good, unfortunately. Blocking with the 0 block equipment needs to be stopped. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, if they block with a 0 cost equipment, that counts as attack as a card, as a defending card. So again, I think a lot of people are going to be able to stop that, especially if they're using battle worn equipments or stuff that doesn't really have a defense value. They're going to be able to chuck that in front of it and just stop Widowmaker. So we'll see. But yeah, going into some more ninja cards now. There isn't really much. Obviously, there's quite a few more to go through today. Obviously, it's going to be a longer stream than I anticipated, but there isn't really much structure on this. There's a lot of Ranger cards, Ninja cards. Now back to Ninja cards again now. So there's a few other things here. It's got Bleed Out. I've skipped a few cards here actually. Flick Knives, legendary. So once per turn attack reaction. You can pay nothing. Target dagger you control that isn't on the active chain link deals 1 damage, and if the damage is dealt this way, the dagger is hit, destroy the dagger. So this is like a last-ditch effort to be able to sort of squeak some damage through from your daggers that you are using. I think it's probably just used in the late game to force the pings through of the daggers that you're attacking with, or if you really, really need to get some stuff through, and you need to maybe chuck the scale peeler at your opponent to make sure that their armor gets whittled down, or their armor can't block effectively, or you chuck the nerve scalpel at them so they devalues their defense reactions late game. I think that's what Flick Knives is for. I'm not sure if there's really an archetype around sort of throwing your knives at people, but I could be wrong. Mask of Shifting Perspectives. This is assassin/ninja equipment. I should say the Flick Knives was also a slashing assassin/ninja with Blade Break 1. And same with this, Blade Break 1, Assassin Ninja. Attack reaction, destroy Mask of Shifting Perspectives. When a dagger hits this turn, you may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, draw a card. So I guess that's okay. A bit of card filtering, I guess, but not too much going on there. Blade Cuff. This is the one that Breezy's wife spoiled, I believe. So this is a cool one. Action for 2 resources, destroy it. Your daggers gain +1 this turn and go again, and Blade Break 1. So just making your attacks go a little bit wider, a little bit taller for the whole turn of Blade Cuff. Then we've got Stab Wound. So this is Majestic. This is quite cool for 0 resources. Blocks for 3, and it says when this hits a hero, they lose X life, where X is the number of times a dagger has hit this combat chain. Obviously, it attacks for 2. This is like a punishing effect for if you've not blocked the Kodachis, or if you've not blocked the little swingers that are coming in for 1. This does punish you for not blocking those in the first place. So this could be a good thing to fall prey to later on. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it. Concealed Blade. Another 0 cost assassin/ninja attack reaction. Target assassin or ninja attack action card gets +1, and when this hits, destroy a dagger from your inventory. Oh, sorry, equip a dagger from your inventory. So that's quite cool. So it's a space that we haven't really delved into yet, is equipping things from your inventory in the middle of the game. So I do really, really like this little space that they're getting into here, of being able to access your equipment or sideboard that you have available to you in game. So it's very, very cool. I like it. Very, very nice. It's used when you need an on-hit effect used on of the assassin cards that devalue blocking cards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I did say that. Yeah, definitely. Just used to when you want to debuff or devalue the cards that are or could be hindering you in the late game. Just finished my 3rd bourbon while opening cards. Forgive me if I make no sense for the next few hours. Fantastic, Jim. I love it, mate. 3rd bourbon. That's awesome. I wish I could have some drinks right now, but school night and what have you. Concealed Blade. Then we've got Knives Out. Awesome piece of art from Enrique. 0 cost attack reaction. Cost 3. Blue pitch. Daggers gain +1 this turn. Just out and out. All daggers get +1 this turn. That's pretty cool. Love that. Bleed Out's quite cool as well. Comes in all pitch values. So it blocks for 2. It costs 2. Well, it could cost nothing. We'll get to that in a moment. But it attacks for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value. And it says it costs X less to play, where X is the total damage you dealt with daggers this combat chain. So this probably does just say 0 for 4, go again in those dagger Kodachi builds and stuff. Because I don't think anybody blocks Kodachis like early on. Unless, of course, they're threatening like mass triggers and all that sort of thing. But I think this is just a 0 for 4 go again, essentially, because nobody's going to be blocking Kodachis early on. So this is going to come in for 4 go again, 3 go again, 2 go again. So yeah, I do like that. But yeah, I could pretty much see you getting this off for free every single time you play it, to be honest. Death Dealer Bow, because at the moment I still think that gives me the most value for pitch. Oh, sorry, I've missed something here. So what bow are you going to use to run when Outsiders is out? I don't know. I'm not sure. Right Time Gaming. I've just seen the comment. Sorry. I think Death Dealer is still one of the favourites. Because of the fact it nets you resources and gives you a card. I think that's obviously the main choice and probably the most competitive thing, isn't it, to go with? But I'm going to be trying everything. I still really do love Dreadbore. I think Dreadbore might have a place at the moment if there's a lot of Riptide and a lot of D-reacts and stuff going on. I still love the fact that it gives you +1 and defense reactions can't be played from hand. I think that's awesome. But I also do like the aim counter matters deck in general, not just trying to leverage and get the on-hit effects of Barbed Undertow and Deadeye and maybe some other things, but actually using the other aim counter cards from Dynasty as well as this to maybe build more of an aim counter focused deck. I think Barbed Castaway could be a good option for that, because it could essentially give any of your arrows an aim counter that you've reloaded in there. So I think that idea that I thought of might be the one that I build upon, because I haven't seen or heard of anybody trying to do that yet. It could be garbage, but who cares? It's all about discovering what you want to do and what you want to play. And again, haven't heard anyone speaking about actually using Barbed Castaway yet. And the fact that it can also give you a card to play with ahead of your opponent might give you that tempo straight away, even if you are going second. And going second, it also is quite good for the fact of you wanting to filter your hand. So yeah, I think Barbed Castaway could be a good little thing to explore, and that's probably what I'm going to be trying to explore potentially with this wild idea that I have. But we'll see. Great Bow is playable though. I use Dreadbore as side for matchups that generally have a lot of reacts. You will have Barbed Castaway. You will be on Barbed Castaway Unlimited. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to be on Barbed Castaway Unlimited. But I'm thinking more of a Barbed Castaway aim counter deck which cares about reload, and then flipping the card that you've reloaded in to get the aim counter on it, and then utilise more of the aim counter cards. Because I think I think getting aim counters onto your stuff only from your deck will be quite difficult. I could be wrong, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's going to be loads of options that we can explore with. There's bloody loads of cards to play with now of Ranger. Anyway, going back to these knife cards, we've got Hurl. This is 0 cost assassin/ninja attack. Comes in all pitch values, and obviously attacks for 3, 2, or 1. And it says, as additional cost to player, you may pay 1, and when you do, it gains when this attacks. Target dagger you control deals 1 damage. If the damage is dealt this way, the dagger is hit and destroy the dagger. So you can essentially attack with this. You can pay 1, then throw the dagger at your opponent, and you can deal the on-hit effect of that dagger and 1 damage as well, and destroy it. So again, if you want to try and get through the defenses of your opponent one last time, or try and sort of weaken them in a way to get something else through, you can throw your daggers at them for those respective effects, which is quite cool. But yeah, we've got Plunge, so 1 cost. When this hits, your next dagger attack gains +1, go again. It attacks for 3, 2, or 1, depending on the pitch value, and blocks for 2. So again, just going in with this sort of dagger tribal matters theme. This is probably what all these cards are. They care about all the daggers, aren't they? Short and sharp as well. There's another dagger one. Sort of like a razor reflex, but for daggers to a certain degree. Blocks for 2, costs 1, attack reaction for assassin and ninja. And it says choose 1. Target dagger gets +3, or target attack action card with 2 or less base power gains +3. So it's like a sort of razor reflex for dagger builds. It can also be viewed as a razor reflex in this sort of limited and draft environment as well, I think. So something to always sort of look out for with if you're facing a dagger or ninja type hero, is these effects here. So we've got a few more cards to go through. Well, I say a few, there's quite a few left to go through, but we'll try and go through these as quickly as we can. We've got Mask of Malicious Manifestations. This is Ranger equipment or assassin, Ranger or assassin equipment head. Blocks for 1, blade break. As an action, you can pay 1 and put a card from your hand or arsenal on the bottom of your deck and destroy this. Then reveal cards on top of your deck until you reveal an attack action. Put it into your hand and then shuffle. So a way of sort of filtering cards. So you can put a card from your hand or arsenal on the bottom of your deck and destroy it, and then go and get an attack action. The first one that comes up, you get it and put it into your hand. So I don't know. I think it's just more of a draft limited card that then you can then sort of fix or find an attack action if you've got something clogged in your arsenal, or filter your hand. You know, if you haven't got something you can use, you can go and get something you could potentially use. But yeah, not something we're really thinking about now, I don't think. Toxic Tips. This is a assassin/ranger equipment arms. Blocks for 1. I think this could be quite good, depending on the circumstances. But yeah, you pay 1 to destroy it, and the next attack action you play this turn gains when this hits. You get a plague under their control, depending on which one you want to do. So yeah, that can be quite a cool little utilization, but I don't think it's going to be constructed playable. I think it's more of a potentially a blitz thing. And yeah, it definitely could be good in limited and draft and sealed and what have you. I want my Guardian/Ninja hero now. Absolutely, Pascal. That would be sick, wouldn't it? Absolute Guardian Ninja. That would be something like off Dynasty Warriors, wouldn't it? And then we've got the Codexes. So the Codexes are pretty cool. We've seen Codex of Frailty already. Codex of Blood Rot costs 0, blocks for 2. Each hero puts a card from their hand face down into their arsenal. Create a Ponder token under your control, and Blood Rocks under each opponent's control. So yeah, pretty cool. Allows you to... these effects are also quite cool in your Ultimate Pit fight as well, because everybody does the thing, right? Each hero does the thing. So it's quite cool. You can give everybody an arsenal card, and some of them you can discard a card as well. The Blood Rock doesn't do that, but the other ones allow you to discard a card. But yeah, I think Codex of Frailty is pretty good in Ranger. Because obviously each hero puts an attack action card from their graveyard into their arsenal. So it's a good way of recurring the arrows that you've had to block with, or the arrows that you've had to, or the ones you've fired already. Then you can then force opponents to discard a card as well, which is quite good. Then you can create a ponder token, which is always good. Obviously, makes you be able to draw up to 5 Arsenal card, essentially, and then obviously draw up to 4, which is pretty good. I do love those effects. Creating ponder tokens is always quite cool. And then the Codex of Inertia does exactly the same thing as well. So yeah, these are pretty good. I think the Codex of Frailty is going to be good in Ranger, although I haven't tried or tested it as of yet, but I think this is one of the ones, like early on, when this was spoiled early on, I was like, oh, okay, this could be simply a replacement for like the Memorial Ground sort of style shenanigans, because you just get this into your arsenal and fire it off. It's not going to be with Dominate, but again, this is another one of those things, right, which can be used with Barbed Castaway, because you put this into your arsenal face down, you can then flip that card face up with your Barbed Castaway and put an aim counter on it, and then you can fire it off with an aim counter. So it's just one of those things, again, that puts something into your arsenal face down. So it allows you to then flip up the card with Barbed Castaway with an aim counter and fire it off. So again, another reason to potentially consider Barbed Castaway if you want to do sort of aim counter style things. Death Touch, awesome card. Can't be played from hand, but obviously it can be reloaded with Take Aim and then fired off. I did a whole video on this when it first came out because I was so hyped over it. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic card. Obviously it works with Riptide as well, because obviously whenever you play a card with Riptide, you essentially reload a card into your arsenal. So Death Touch can then be played out of your arsenal with Riptide's abilities. And then obviously if this hits, it creates a Frailty, Inertia or Bloodrot Pox under their control, and it attacks for 6, 5 or 4 depending on the pitch values, and it costs 1 to play and blocks for 2. So yeah, pretty nice. Toxicity is going to be pretty good in Azalea, I think. I've heard sort of things in the grapevine, things in Discord, people playing with this already on Talishar and what have you, saying that this is pretty good, and I can imagine that that's going to be the case. A 0 cost assassin ranger action, blocks for 2, and it just says the next assassin or ranger attack action card you play this turn gains when this hits a hero, they lose 5 life, 4 life, or 3 life, depending on the pitch value, which I think is absolutely absurd. You know, I think especially in Assassin, this could be absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. In Azalea as well, I think obviously coupled with the fact that she can dominate arrows and get round defenses, I think this is going to be pretty good in Azalea for sure. But saying that, Assassin, this is horrendous to see. If you see this first as a before an assassin attack, you're like, oh no, here we go, we're going to lose some serious life here, because assassins have a lot of attack reactions, right? They have a lot of attack reactions, like cut to the chase, and obviously we saw Razor's Edge and Razor Reflex and all of these attack reactions over the top, which is going to deal some serious damage to them as well. But yeah, I do like this card. I think the red one's going to be very, very good in Azalea. Can't wait to sort of start playing with that. And then we're going to start going into a couple of the generics, then we're going to finish off for today. But then we've got Virulent Touch, first of all. This is, again, another assassin/ranger action, previewed by Push the Point. This actually does look like Hamish, to be fair. I'm joking. But yeah, 0 cost, blocks for 2, and attacks for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value. Can't be played from hand, so again, you have to reload it in there. So obviously, Riptide's in a good position to be able to do that. Or if you're using things like Take Aim in the constructed meta, you could actually reload something in and then play it if you need to. And obviously that still works with Virulent Touch as well, because this is a ranger attack action, and Take Aim does actually work with this as well, because it is still attack action. And this just says, when the chain link resolves, if Virulent Touch is defended by a card from hand, they get a Bloodrot Pox under their control. So it's sort of making their blocks obsolete to a certain degree, because they're still going to be taking a Bloodrot Pox, and if they don't pay for it, they're still going to be taking the damage. So I think this is quite good. I don't know whether it's going to see constructed play, but I think it's quite good in that limited environment. It's a shame we don't really have Take Aim in this limited environment, but that probably might be too strong. But yeah, it's quite a cool card. Lovely art as well. Awesome. And then we got 3 traps which generate the diseases on hit. So we've got Blood Rot Trap, Frailty Trap, and Inertia Trap, all of which can be used by Azalea as well. All rangers can use this. It's not a Riptide specialization. Blocks for 3 and cost nothing, and they all are red pitches. It says when this defends and the attacking hero has played or activated a reaction, this chain link create a Blood Rot Pox or Frailty or Inertia under their control. So they have had to use a reaction in order for this to trigger. So it's quite again quite niche as to when this happens, but I think it's better in Riptide because you still get the 1 damage if you play it, and it still blocks for 3. So yeah, quite cool. Van Brace of Determination, so another legendary, generic equipment arms. So this doesn't block for anything essentially, you have to pay for it, but once per turn attack reaction, you can pay 1, and the next prevention effect that deals that prevents damage this turn prevents 1 less of that damage. So you can essentially stop the Crown of Seeds preventing damage, I believe, for 1. Also prevents you. Also can prevent stuff like Oasis Respite, preventing 1 less of that damage. So you can still potentially get on hits through if you really need them to go through. But yeah, it's just a cool little sort of utility piece, I guess. And obviously, when it's defense as well, you can pay 1 if you do it gets +1 defense and blade break. So it's sort of simulating a bit of damage prevention from both physical and other sources of damage, right? But yeah, on the surface, doesn't seem that good, but maybe the meta heads will break this or see some reason to use it in certain matchups, but I can't identify that right now for you, unfortunately. Next we have the Seekers stuff. So this is like the sort of common equipment that you could pull and potentially use. They all say for 1, instant speed, destroy it, prevent the next 1 damage that will be dealt to your hero this turn, and opt. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Probably not something we really use in Constructed, but in Sealed, Draft, and Limited, obviously is going to be a nice little equipment piece that you can equip your hero with to prevent damage coming from any sources. Silken Gi, absolutely. So generic equipment chest, instant speed, destroy it. The next attack action card player's turn has -1 and costs 1 less to play. So this is quite cool if you want to try and sort of come in for another attack for nothing. Potentially, if your attack costs 1, you can just essentially just say, right, I'm coming in for no resources, but it's going to have -1 attack. So it could be the difference between having another attack or not. So that's quite a cool card to pick or get when you're doing your draft or limited. Threadbare Tunic. It's not quite the tunic we need, but it's a tunic nonetheless. So instant speed, destroy it, gain a resource, activate its ability only if you have no cards in hand. Okay. So that's an interesting ability. So only if you have no cards in hand. So ideally you'd want to use this resource to fuel something that's coming out of your arsenal then. You want to play all of the cards in your hand and then play something out of your arsenal with the one that you've generated. So interesting line to try and fulfill, but I can see that it could actually work in some circumstances. Then we've got Fisticuffs, generic equipment arms, attack reaction for 2, you can destroy it, and the target attack action card gets +1. So it's just nice to have a little buff on a gauntlet here. But yeah, nothing else much going on there. Fleetfoot Sandals, attack reaction, legs, destroy it, target attack with 1 or less base power gains go again. So that's more like a Benji thing, or like a blue cycle thing. Fleetfoot Sandals, giving something go again. Could be good for forcing a little bit of damage through later on, I guess. Cool, and then we're going into the generics. So generics is the only stuff that we have left towards for this sort of set review as such. So thank you everybody who's tuned in to the very end. If you haven't liked this video already, please do so. But yeah, and make sure you leave a comment in the section below as to what your thoughts are on the set, because this has been a cool little time just delving into the cards for the first time, really, in all this detail. So Amnesia is a 2-cost generic action attack, blocks for 3, and it says attacks for 6 as well, so it's a nice little popper if you need a popper. And it says when this hits a hero, cards and tokens they own, lose and can't gain names until the start of your next turn. So this just gets rid of and just throws a wrench in the combo strategy, really. Very sort of sideboardy. I don't think it works against anything else apart from the combo style things, but it's nice to have for that anyway. Cut down to size is still my favourite generic in this. Yeah, it's a very good one. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, it is a nice one, especially for Azuri as well. I think it's a good Azuri card. But yeah, Down and Dirty. This is an interesting one. So it's a 2 for 6, blocks for 2. It's a red pitch, majestic, and while it's in your arsenal, you can defend with it. So it's quite a cool, interesting effect. I don't know whether it's going to see play or not, but obviously it breaks one of the sort of rules of the game where you can only block with cards from hand. But with this, you can essentially block for 2 from your arsenal as if it was in your hand. So could be good in certain circumstances. And also with this as well, if it's in your arsenal and you block with it, it's still a 6 power attack, so you can still blow up Phantasm stuff with this from your arsenal as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's Down and Dirty. Next is Give and Take. So this is a generic action attack, blocks for 3, attacks for 3, costs 1 to play, pitches for 1. Whenever Give and Take is defended by an action card, you may put an action card with cost less than Give or Take's power from your graveyard on top of your deck and go again. So if this is defended, you can put something with cost less than Give or Take's power from your graveyard on top of your deck. With cost less than, so you can put something with 3 or less cost on top of your deck. Is that right? That's a strange card to read at this late at night. You may put an action card with cost less than Give and Take's power from your graveyard on top of your deck. Okay, so you can put any action card essentially back on top of your deck if this is defended. Then that's essentially what this is saying, which is quite good because it has go again as well, right? So if they block this, if they decide to block this card, you can actually then recur an arrow to top of your deck. If you're playing a ranger, if you've got something in your arsenal, you can then activate Azalea's ability, potentially to get that into your arsenal, dominate, and then fire it off. So this could be quite a cool little card. I don't know whether we'd really use it too much. Obviously, it's a 3 attack, go again, cost 1. I don't know whether we'd really use it that much, but it's an interesting card nonetheless. It's a recursive piece as well, but there could be some sort of synergies there with Ranger potentially with the Azalea Dominate, putting it to the top of your deck. But yeah, that's a cool card. They actually got Gore Belching. This is a very interesting card, and I think it's alluding more to what's coming next than actually this set, really. If you can see in the art here, there's obviously some like demons and stuff, but in the background over there, you can see like a rune blade in the background there, like with runes as well. So I think it's just hinting at potentially the next set that's coming out, or stuff that's going to be alluded to in the future here, because there's loads of demons and stuff coming through, killing all these knights and stuff. So I think they're holding the shield of Solana as well, by the looks of it. They got some sort of holy cross on their back and on their shields. So this could be a bit of a hint as to what's coming next, potentially. But yeah, 0 for 7, doesn't block. Pitches for 1, and it says when this attacks, reveal reveal cards on top of your deck until you reveal an attack action card, and if you do, banish it, and it gets minus X power, where X is the power of the card banished this way. Otherwise, this gets -7, and then shuffle. So obviously you can cheat this in with Azuri at the moment for a 7 attack in place of your card that you've banished away from, not banished away, tucked away from stealth. But I don't see where else you would use this right now. So it really does look like it's like a prelude to something that's going to come in the Dusk Till Dawn set, the Shadow and Light. I'm not really a Brute or Leviathan main, so I don't really know if this is going to be played in that deck either. I mean, you are getting the banish, though, aren't you? It's one of those things that can turn off Blood Debt for the turn. So, I don't know. I'm not sure at the moment. But This one's quite cool though. Burdens of the Past. We spoke about it in Living Legends on the previous podcast this week. It's like a late game card which gets around defense reactions, I think, most of the time. So it's end of turn. It's a blue pitch, blocks for 3, costs nothing. On the end of turn, target hero can't play defense reaction cards with the same name as a card in their graveyard. So, in Constructed, if you're blocking with a lot of Sink Belows, if you're blocking with a lot of Fateful Scenes, if you're blocking with a lot of not Oasis Respites, other defense reaction cards, then you've got a chance of getting past that card late game. And potentially, if they're using a lot of defense reactions, a lot of fatigue, a lot of stuff that's stopping you from doing things, then once you play this, it can replace itself as well, because it draws a card if they've got 10 or more defense reactions in their graveyard. So it's like an anti-fatigue piece, which I think is quite cool. So yeah, until end of turn, target hero can't play defense reactions with the same name as a card in their graveyard. So if they, towards the end of the game, all of the past things that they've done are going to come back to haunt them, which is obviously in the name here, Burdens of the Past. It's one of those things that's, you know, every card that they've played up until this point, every card that they've defended with up until this point, defense reaction wise, is gonna come back to hurt them when you play Burdens of the Past. And obviously towards the end game as well, this is going to replace itself, because they're going to have so many D-reacts in their graveyard that you're going to play this, draw a card, and then they're not going to be able to defend with any of the defense reactions that are in their graveyard already. So yeah, it's pretty good against that sort of anti-fatigue game plan that you want to get through. So yeah, this is definitely a card to use in those sort of Oldhim defensive Guardian sort of matchups, I imagine. Again, the set's not released yet. I know there's people grinding and testing on the internet. That's not me. But I think this is going to be used in those sorts of style games where you want to go to the late game and then just drop this, let it replace itself, and try and get through that sort of fatigue game at the end there. This set just has a lot of Oldhim hate. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if you watched the spoiler video, Marcus, but yeah, me and Jim beat about 30 Oldhims in a row using not only the Quiver but a few other cards like as well. I joke, of course. Now, this next card is fucking awesome. It really is. This is one of my favourite cards for the art, the effect, everything. This is probably my favourite card of the set, I think. Premeditate. Absolutely love it. I'm not sure whether you've seen the sort of Photoshop I did of this. Because someone in the Discord, the link is in the description box below if you want to join the Discord. But someone did a little edit of Azalea eating a burger or holding a burger in her hand. And I was like, right, I'm going to take this one step further. And I essentially just photoshopped her into a McDonald's eating a burger, and it was just glorious. But yeah, this art is absolutely awesome. I wish, if this is a playmat, it's something I want to get my hands on. That's for sure. But yeah. It's absolutely awesome. Love this card, and the art is just he's got a Gas Supreme Leader on there, isn't it? So you can't go wrong. Anyway, so 0 cost, generic action, blocks for 2. The next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, create a Ponder token. That's awesome as it is. Essentially, you're drawing a card if it hits at the end, so you're not going to be able to draw that card now, like Plunder Run allows you to do. But it's going to allow you to draw that card at the end, which you can essentially put in your arsenal, right? And then it says the next attack action card you play from arsenal this turn gains +3. Now, if you're a ranger, you do not care about that hoop you have to jump through, because you have to play cards out of your arsenal to attack anyway. So this is just awesome, right? I mentioned it on the Living Legends podcast. I'll mention it again. This is just quality, because I'm a massive fan of those cards that replace themselves if they hit. So like Endless Arrow, Snatch, cards that make you draw a card if it hits. This allows you to essentially draw a card off of the next time an attack action card hits. You get to do that. So it's essentially like a legal Plunder Run to a certain degree, but it's easier to achieve if you're a ranger, because you don't have to you don't have to play you don't have to play this out of your arsenal to get the buff. You can just play this, and your next thing gets +3 out of your arsenal, which you're doing anyway if you are a ranger. So yeah, Premeditate is definitely going to be in Azalea decks, definitely. And that's without really doing any testing. That's without doing any sort of research on the set. I haven't really got the chance to watch other videos or look at other set reviews or anything. I don't really have that much time to consume other content, but all I know is that this card is definitely going to be in Azalea decks, 100%. It's really, really good. Really, really like it. So I've missed some of the chat here. Let me eat my Big Mac. Absolutely, Super Mario Black Tiger. You've seen it. You've seen the Twitter post. Borger. Woman's got to eat right. Absolutely, Big Boss. I think Lexi's going to get miles out of this as well. Yep, makes sense. Premeditate and Heat Seeker. Exactly. Yeah, that's good. That's a good combo as well, for sure. Because Heat Seeker puts it face up into the arsenal. You gain an extra arsenal zone. Then you can arsenal another card from the ponder, right? Yeah, so that's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. Card advantage is one of the things that I like to force. That's why I used to play with a lot of snatches in my Azalea deck, with my Azalea Dreadball deck back in the day. It wasn't really competitive, but it was how I liked to play. I liked to play with the on-hit card draw, card advantage. How many cards do I have versus how many cards do you have in the moment? You know, trying to sort of work on trying to sort of wrestle an advantage out of one of those three areas. Either the life. Do I have more life than you in the moment? No. Okay. Well, do I have more cards? Okay. Yeah, I have more cards then. Okay, that's cool. Do I have more cards in my deck than you? Okay. Yeah, I do. So as long as I'm winning on two of those three fronts. Back in the day when I was running the Dreadball deck, I was seeing it as I'm winning the struggle here. So yeah, any cards that sort of give you card advantage, I like. So yeah, Premeditate, very good card. Absolutely love it. Going to get 3 of those for sure. Anyway, a few more generic cards to go through, and then we're going to end it today. So Humble. This is a 2-cost generic attack action for 6, blocks for 2, and it says when this hits a hero, they lose all abilities. So the next turn, it's basically like a sleep dart on a generic attack. So that's interesting. The fact that they're allowing you to have a sleep dart on a generic attack. So that's interesting. Obviously, attacks for 6, 5, or 4, depending on the pitch value. Blocks for 2. Infectious Host. Okay, I've never seen this card. Haven't seen this card at all before. So a 0-cost attack, generic action. Can attack for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value. Blocks for 2, and it says when this hits, if you control attacks a hero, if you control a frailty, create a frailty under their control, then repeat for inertia and bloodrot pox. That is funny. That is cool. So if you've got a disease, you actually give your disease to somebody else. That's quite funny. That is quite funny. I like that. There's probably going to be a lot of disease. There's probably going to be a lot of disease tokens hanging around in limited and sealed. So this could actually be quite good, especially if they're attacking you with. If you've got this in your hand on your defensive turn, right, and they're coming in with all these diseases, you can be like, yeah, okay, I'll take these diseases, whatever. I'm going to come back at you with the same thing because I'm infected now. I think that's just quite good. Then we got Looking for a Scrap. This is a 1-cost generic action, blocks for 2, and attacks for 4, 3, or 2, depending on the pitch value. And it says, as additional cost to play, Looking for a Scrap, you may banish a card with power 1 from your graveyard, and if you do, this gains +1 and go again. So I think this is, pretty good. The red one at least, I think, is a good one in Benji, like later on. When you have a lot of one power cards in your graveyard, you can essentially come in for 1. So if you can come in for 5, go again late game by banishing these cards. So I think these could be good in Benji and limited and sealed. I could be wrong, but I think that's what the vibe I'm getting from it, because obviously it cares about the 1 power attacks being banished. It could also work with the lesser stealth cards. Obviously the lesser stealth cards, the blue pitch stealth cards, all come in for 1. So that could also banish those as well to synergize with that. The Go Again also will work with the aggro sort of strategy that Arachne Solitary Confinement sort of fits into. So yeah, I think maybe Arachne and Benji could work with these cards in Limited and Sealed, but apart from that, I'm definitely going to see Constructed. Wreck Havoc is obviously one of the arts that we saw early on for the Outsiders set. This is a 2-cost generic action, blocks for 2, obviously comes in all pitch values, red, yellow or blue, and the attacks will be 6, 5 or 4 respectively, depending on that. And it says defense reactions can't be played to its chain link, and it says when this hits, you may turn a card in their arsenal face up and then destroy a defense reaction in their arsenal. So it's like a sort of CNC type effect, but it only works on destroying their arsenal if a D-react is in there. So it's more of like a Riptide sealed limited sort of style thing. So there's going to be a lot of traps, going to be a lot of stuff hanging around in people's arsenals. So yeah, this is like a sort of CNC-esque effect for limited and sealed, I think, with Wreck Havoc. Next we've got Cut Down to Size. This is a good card for Azuri, I think. So obviously this is a generic action, cost 2, blocks for 2, and it comes in all pitch values, so it can attack for 6, 5 or 4 depending on those pitch values. And obviously it can be cheated into play with Azuri. So it says when this hits, if they have 4 or more cards in hand, they discard a card. And they probably will have, if you're playing Azuri, they probably will have 4 cards in hand. Because you're probably just going to be coming in with a dagger and then a sort of mind gamey attack. So they could discard a card with this if it hits, which I think is pretty good. So yeah, Cut Down to Size. I thought it was quite a good one. I think the red one's going to be in Azuri decks. I really do, but I could be wrong. Marcus, you're saying I want it for Oldhim as well. What do you want for Oldhim? Wreck Havoc. I guess it could be good in Oldhim, couldn't it? Yeah, they're sandbagging a D-react in their arsenal, especially if it's like a bloody immovable or something. You can just get rid of it. See you later. This one's quite cool. So Destructive Deliberation, 2-cost generic action attack, blocks for 2, comes in all pitch values, so 5, 4 or 3 attack respectively. And it says when this hits, create a ponder token. So it's like a more... It can be cheated into play with Azuri as well, so you can potentially get some card advantage out of it. But yeah, it's just another way of just... It could be like a good little tempo swing, right? You play this when you've got nothing else. Maybe you've blocked with 2 cards on the previous turn. You then pitch a yellow to come in with Destructive Deliberation, threatening 5 or 4 damage, hopefully, with the on-hit effect of drawing a card and maybe getting back into the game after arsenaling the card that you've just pondered for. So it could be like a good little way of trying to wrestle back a little bit of tempo with the on-hit effect of drawing a card plus threatening the 5 or 4 damage in the red and yellows. I'm not sure if the blue will be that good because it doesn't even block for 2. So I reckon the reds and the yellows could be quite good little picks in your sealed and your limited draft pools potentially as a way of wrestling back a little bit of tempo. Then we got Feisty Locals. So this is a 0-cost generic action attack, costs nothing, blocks for 2, attacks for 3, 2 or 1 respectively, and if it's defended by an action card it has +2. So yeah, just more sort of filler cards. I imagine like the blues and the yellows could be good in Benji because they won't be able to be blocked by attacks from hand, but if they are defended by an action card they do get a buff as well, so maybe not, but yeah, just more sort of filler cards here. Same with this one really, Freewheeling Renegades, so cost 1 to play, blocks for 2, and it attacks for 6, 4 or 5 depending on the pitch value, and it says if this is defended by an action card it has -2. So again, if they're blocking with an action card it will debuff the card. Ravenous Rabble, seeing a reprint in this set, that's pretty good. Obviously it makes sense as well. They've got dregs. These are the dregs here, aren't they? So it makes sense. Obviously there's a lot of synergy with like Azalea and stuff, revealing the top card and all that sort of thing. So it's good to see that these will be available to be used in draft and sealed as well. So that's good. You've got Seek Horizon, another reprint, and again another thing that can potentially synergize with Azalea in the sort of draft and sealed environment with the additional effect of putting a card from your hand on top of your deck and giving it go again. So then you can essentially potentially try and activate Azalea's ability to get the card off the top into your arsenal of Dominate. If there's a card in your arsenal, firing it off could be a nice little line to go through in Limited and Sealed, potentially. But yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say filler. These cards seem like good inclusions in the limited environment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. In Limited and Sealed, all of these will all be cards that you put in your deck if you don't have any other options. But for Constructed, you're not going to be putting in feisty locals, that's for sure. Spring Load, next one. When this attacks, if you have no cards in your hand, it gets +3. So obviously you got it's a 1-cost attack. Attacks for 2. Well, they all attack for 2 actually, but just the buff is different on the pitch value. So they all block for 2. But if you have no cards in your hand on the red version, it gets +3. On the yellow version, it's +2, and on the blue version, it's +1. So again, that's interesting. If you have no cards in your hand. So it could be a nice thing to just sort of sit in your arsenal, and then you could just block with a load of things, and then just come out with an attack for 5 with the red version. So again, it's another one of those things that you could potentially try and wrestle back a little bit of tempo with if you've had to block. If this is still in your arsenal, for instance, and you have to defend with maybe 3 cards from hand, you can then, or even 4 cards in hand. If you look at the Threadbare Tunic or whatever it was earlier, you could essentially have this Spring Load in your arsenal, defend with all of your cards from your hand on the defensive turn, and then crack your Threadbare Tunic for the 1 resource. And then if you've got no cards in your hand, get that resource, and then you can fire that off. I think that's how that worked. The Threadbare Tunic. Yeah, if you have no cards in your hand. So if you block with your entire hand, use the Threadbare Tunic to gain a resource, and then fire off the Spring Load from your arsenal. You can essentially come back for 5, which I think is quite good. But yeah, it's very, very sort of niche and stuff, but it's just nice to see that they are sort of taking heed and notice of the fact that you need to try and wrestle back a little bit of tempo here and there. And some of these cards like this, and obviously the draw a card, Destructive Deliberation, those sort of cards will allow you to do that in that sort of limited and draft environment. Come to Fight, nice little reprint there. We obviously already know what that does. Scout the Periphery, this is quite an interesting one. So 0 cost, generic action, blocks for 2. Look at the top card of target hero's deck. So as we mentioned earlier, Infiltrate is one of those ones that if you hit them, you get to banish the top card of your deck and then play it until the end of your next turn. This will allow you to potentially see what that card is. So you can sort of prepare for it to a certain degree, but you can also look at the top card of your deck as well. So this could be quite good in Azalea. So you could have a look at the top card of your deck and then see if you want to either put that into your arsenal with Dominate or just access that card in general through Azalea's ability, or even Death Dealer in Constructed. Obviously, I know Death Dealer is not in this set. But it's just another way of potentially looking at the top card of your deck, and then then it just says the next attack action card you play from arsenal this turn gets +3. So it's potentially just another way of digging for your Azalea deck, or accessing the top card of your deck without having to blind it, right? So I think this could see something. It only blocks for 2 though. I think Read the Glide Path is definitely better than this, but it is nice to know that there is another effect that might allow us to do something like that. And if you wanted to, for whatever reason, you can look at the top card of target hero's deck. I don't know why you would do that, but who knows? I think it's quite cool though. I might experiment with this a little bit. Next you've got Brush Off. So this is 0 cost, instant. The next time you would be dealt 3 or less damage this turn, prevent it. Okay, so you just prevent it outright, and it's the same with the yellow and blue, 2 or less or 1 or less. So more instants that allow you to prevent damage of any sort of sources. So that's interesting. It's the same with Peace of Mind as well. This is one that Team Covenant spoiled, I believe. But again, yeah, a 2 cost. Yellow or blue, and it says next time you prevent damage this turn, or whenever you will be dealt physical damage this turn, prevent 4, 3, or 2. So it's not as good as Oasis Respite because it doesn't block any damage, but it does also allow you to create a ponder token. So again, another one of those sort of tempo swingy abilities where you can block some damage and then create a ponder, draw that card, arsenal it, and then draw up. So it allows you to potentially get back into the game a little bit while preventing damage and drawing cards. So I think ponder is a thing that could actually see a lot of use going forward because you're not drawing the card right now. You're drawing it at the end of your turn, so you're essentially drawing up to 5 most of the time with ponder. Well, you will be because you'll be arsenaling the ponder card and drawing to 4. So I think ponder's a nice little thing to maybe sort of lean into because it's allowing you to get back into the game through drawing more cards. You know, then you can block with the cards from hand or use the ponder if it's a D-react to sort of maybe block more damage and try and get into it with the 2-card swing back or whatever, or what have you. But yeah, peace of mind, pretty cool. I've no idea Death Dealer wasn't in this set because it actually gets a damn reprint though. Absolutely, yeah, Death Dealer isn't in here. Unfortunately, we only have Barbed Castaway to work with Ranger in Limited and Sealed, unfortunately. But I do like Barbed Castaway. I think there's some cool interactions that haven't really been explored yet with it that I want to try and explore because I'm not one to really sort of go with what everybody else is doing. I want to try and find something very, very unique to do, and I think there's a lot to be explored with Barbed Castaway. Yeah, I know it's just a token. I know it's really sort of Riptide's signature weapon, but I think there's some cool things you can do with it. But we'll see. And then that's pretty much it. Then we just have the tokens that have been spoiled already. Ponder, all the diseases, all the stuff we've already seen before. Harmonized spiders, cracked bauble for draft. But all in all, it was pretty cool to go through this set properly. Again, I hadn't really looked into it, all of the cards. I spoiled my card. It was this time last week, right? I spoiled my spoiler card. Yeah, this time last week, I'd spoiled my spoiler card about an hour ago. So since then, it's been a pretty wild week. Loads of messages, loads of sort of Twitter posts, Twitter notifications, loads of notifications, and having to catch up with all the stuff that people have spoiled, people's videos. You have to support the other creators as well, and yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride this week. You've probably seen, if you don't follow me on Twitter, please go and do so. It's Go Again Gaming AZ. My consciousness is pretty much posted there most of the time. Had some quite profound tweets recently. So yeah, go and have a look at those. But yeah, it's been good to delve into the set. Cannot wait to sort of start building decks when the cards are released. I'm not one of those people that will grind on Talishar and test things over and over again before the set's released. I like to actually get my hands on the cards before I start building decks. But yeah, I just can't wait to sort of discover all of these cards and what they're actually playing like properly in the Flesh and Blood at a pre-release event. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to one on the 20th. That's going to be at Mystic Games in Witney in Oxfordshire. So if you're going to that, I'll be there. Probably trying to force Azalea, but we'll see. We'll see what our limited pool suggests. But it's going to be fun nonetheless, and yeah, can't wait to discover this set at a local game store very, very soon and play the first games of it on a table, really. I don't want to taint or ruin that experience by playing it online. I just want to play it in the Flesh and Blood, really. And that's going to be not this Monday, but next Monday. So I can't wait for that. It's going to be good fun. But anyway, I think the Wayfarer's Crest gives an idea that a Shaman class is underway. Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's going to be part of the Savage Lands, to be honest. I think it might be like... yeah, look at that. It's awesome, isn't it? That is pretty good. Pretty good art. Canyons and stuff in the background. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what we get in the future, that's for sure. Dusk Till Dawn's right around the corner, so obviously we're going to expect light and shadow from there. But I'm all about getting my hands on it as well before building. Not a fan of Talishar, having them up early. No, exactly that. Fab TCG cards. We go into it in massive detail in the next Living Legends podcast. And yeah, there's just something about it. There's something about it that I don't really agree with, unfortunately. So yeah, I haven't played any Talishar. I don't know whether I'm going to be playing any Talishar at all going forward. I think I'd just rather play with the cards in person. And you will see the next Azalea Ringer on Wednesday. I'm going to be playing against Bill's Briar deck, which is going to be interesting. Haven't had a great experience with Rune Blades on the Azalea Ringer so far. Red Zone Rogue was able to absolutely rinse me with Viserai, with so many Mordred Tide 20 plus damage turns, which I couldn't really get back into afterwards. So yeah, not really looking forward to facing Bill's Briar, but it should be fun nonetheless. So yeah, the Azalea Ringer is going to be every Wednesday, in person, flesh and blood, playing the actual cards that we have access to, rather than just playing in front of a screen against a random person. Yeah, I'm probably going to be doing less Talishar on the channel, to be honest. It's not the way the game should be played. And yeah, I get it's a good way of sort of goldfishing your decks, but it's just not the same experience for me. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Living Legends podcast, we go into that whole discussion that was on Twitter recently about whether the card should be released and be able to be played on the online platforms. But I think it's unavoidable. Unfortunately, it is unavoidable. You can't really sort of control it, because there's still going to be Tabletop Simulator. Talishar still exists, and people can still print out the cards and proxy them and test with them. So you can't control that aspect of it. That's fine. You know, people are always going to do that anyway. People are always going to test and try and crack the cards as soon as they can to make sure that they can spike their events and be the best flesh and blood player on the day, for the, you know, having the most knowledge and the most reps and all this good stuff, and all this sweaty try hard stuff. But yeah, that's always going to happen. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Tune into Living Legends next on Wednesday for more. So it's going to be a good topic of discussion. That's pretty much it for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Jim, you're saying I'll be live at 9 o'clock Eastern for Azalea Mat giveaway. All right, when's that then? Is that in 20 minutes? No, 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, okay, that's not for a while, is it? That's not till 1 a.m. my time. So what, 3 hours? Probably won't be awake still by then, but we'll see. Lots of new pummel targets, absolutely. Looking forward to them. Absolutely. But yeah, that's pretty much it for tonight. I want to thanks everyone for tuning in with me now in the future. But yeah, this video will be available on demand, so you can just click the timestamp if you want to get straight into the full set review. I do start off with a lot of the ninja stuff though, which is quite uncomfortable. No, sorry, it was the assassin stuff first of all. So yeah, we've gone through all of the cards today, but yeah, it's good to finally delve into the set. But thank you very much, everybody who's tuned in, and make sure you go and check out Jim's stream in 2 hours and 15 minutes on Fab TCG cards. Go and check out that when you can. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for everybody who's tuned in, and thanks for everybody who's joined me on this journey so far on Go Again Gaming. The channel was what we did become a YouTube partner recently. So there's lots of ways you can now support the channel, even just by watching the content, and obviously just bearing with the adverts that are on there is all helping the channel. There's now Super Chat available on live streams, so if you want to chuck some dollar at me, then you can by all means do so if you feel like I'm doing a good job. But all of this stuff goes to help, and now it is it's becoming sort of quantifiable as to what my time is worth to people that don't contribute on a sort of monetary basis for whatever reason. But it's cool, we're getting there. We're all doing it for the passion of the game, obviously, still, and just having a great time with it. But nice little milestone to hit recently after a roller coaster of a week. But yeah, thank you very much for everybody who's tuned in. And yeah, go and join Jim. Lovely old job, absolutely. Super Mario Black Tiger. Go and join Jim in 2 hours and 15 minutes over on FabTG Cars for the Azalea mat giveaway as well, if you haven't done so already. Please go and subscribe to both me and Jim as well. And yeah, we'll see you soon to do it all over again on the Azalea Ringer on Wednesday. We'll be live again from about 6 Eastern? No, 5:30, 6 o'clock. 5:30, 6 o'clock Central Time, CST, for Azalea Ringer. But yeah, if you look at the Azalea Ringer, it'll be in there on YouTube. But thanks very much, and we'll see you very, very soon to do it all over again. Cheers. Peace. Just want to say thanks to Big Boss Book Club for the super chat. Make sure you go and check out Big Boss Book Club on all the Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Nice guy, does a lot of cool interviews, and yeah, just a general lover of the game. So cheers, Big Boss Book Club, for the super chat. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon regarding the Bravo Bros episode 4, which is going to be recorded on Wednesday. But yeah, thank you very much for the super chat. You are the first super chat I've ever had. So thank you very much. Peace out.